Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan with Alchemy added to each pack. That means one card out of each pack is going to get swapped out for one of the brand new Alchemy cards like Landlore Navigator here. So this is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Orc Pirate. Whenever it attacks, you create a map token, and at the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more artifacts entered the battlefield under your control this turn, you get to conjure a Thieving Magpie onto the battlefield, which is a 1/3 flyer that draws you a card every time it hits your opponent. So Landlore Navigator is completely nuts. If you somehow get into a position where you can attack with this a few times in a row, you are almost guaranteed to be winning that game, because all you need to do to be conjuring up an additional flying bird on every attack is to just play a single other artifact per turn, because that map token that you're creating from the Landlore Navigator does count as one of your artifacts. So I am going to take the Landlore Navigator here over some solid cards from the main set, mainly Captain Storm. That's blue-red pirates build around, but I think that Landlore Navigator is just an insane alchemy card, and since we're doing the alchemy drafts, let's play with some of the crazy alchemy cards. For pack 1, pick 2, things are going to go a little different here. Waterwind Scout would be the easiest pick. It's going to flow really well with the Landlore Navigator. We could curve out with the Navigator turn 2 into the Waterwind Scout turn 3 and immediately trigger it, but another thing we could do that would immediately trigger the Landlore Navigator and is also just a more powerful card is the Sentinel of the Nameless City. This is a 3-mana 3/4 with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you create a map token, which is pretty busted. It is the strongest card in the pack. It's really large for its mana cost and provides a lot of extra value with those map tokens. The one thing I don't like about taking this card is I don't love green-blue as a color pair. The main archetype there, the main synergy you're building around is to just be exploring a bunch, and green does not have a ton of artifact production to go with the Navigator, so it's a little awkward synergistically, but I think the Sentinel is enough more powerful than anything else in the pack to still take it here. I think the second best pick would be the Waterwind Scout though, for sure, and I think it would be a perfectly reasonable choice if you just want to stick to that Landlore Navigator no matter what. But I think with such a powerful reason to try to move into green, we could just draft really heavily around the Navigator and give ourselves a little harder path to take here trying to go into green-blue, but I think it could still be worth it with these two really powerful cards in that direction. For pick number 3, it's nothing incredible here. I'm a pretty big fan of the Inverted Iceberg though, so I might just take this. It's another card that's going to fit really well with that Landlore Navigator. It will be an artifact when we play it for 2 mana, and an artifact when we flip it for 6 mana. It's a very, very solid card. Just think of it like your top-end creature, your 6 mana 6/6, but it also has a 2 mana draw spell attached for the early game when you don't have anything else to do. So it's a great little 2-for-1 value play. One of my favorite finishers for a blue deck. I'm going to grab the Inverted Iceberg here, I think. Other reasonable options are like the Mine Cart, or pushing into another color with one of these 1-drops like the Miner's Guidewing, or the Triumphant Chomp little burn spell. Pick 4 is going to be a super easy pick since we have 2 really nice blue spells with Landlore Navigator and Inverted Iceberg, and both of these blue spells are cards that we can draw off of the Staunch Crewmate. Staunch Crewmate being a really great value play, a 2-mana 2/1 that pulls out a pirate or artifact out of the top 4 cards of your library and puts it directly into your hand. So it's immediately 2-for-1 value by hitting the board and drawing you a card. And the card that it draws you is going to be an on-land card, so it's going to be some more action, some more gas for the fires there. So pretty happy to take a Staunch Crewmate here, although it is competing with like Geological Appraiser being a pretty nuts off-color uncommon. I think because it fits so well with our first 2 blue spells, I'm happy to take the Crewmate anyway here. There's also an Oaken Siren here, which is pretty nice, but definitely nowhere near the power level of that Staunch Crewmate. For pick 5 now, green is completely non-existent in this pack, which is a little awkward for our Sentinel of the Nameless City pick, so a little sad about that. Yeah, I mean, this pack in general is pretty empty. Honestly, my favorite cards are just not going to fit in here very well. They're the dinosaur cards out of this pack. The Eatskeith for a removal spell and a creature at the same time. The Saheeli's Lattice for a draw spell and a big dinosaur later, but you need to have enough dinosaurs in your deck to craft this with a dinosaur in your grave later, so it's not the best in blue-red. Still okay since it is an artifact, so that could be the pick, I guess. Or we could just take like Deadweight here. for a fine little removal spell. Definitely best in decks that care about shoving a bunch of permanents in grave. River Herald Scout is fine value, but I think Lattice is enough better than it that I'm going to scoop up the Lattice here, even if it's not the most likely direction to head in. Pick number 6 now. Not a lot left in these packs at this point. If I want to draft caves really highly, I could take the Benthesaur as a solid value play later. 4/4 that draws us a couple caves. There's also Atali's Favor. If you end up pretty aggressive, the Favor plays pretty well, letting you discover into another spell while buffing up your board state. So you slam this down on your 2-mana 2/1, make it a 3/2 so it can trade up into 3 toughness cards, and then also hopefully spit out another creature. So it can lead to some really explosive curve outs if you go quick. I guess we could also take the River Herald Guide. That is pretty solid value. I actually like the auto-suggester pointing that out to me there. We've actually found a pretty solid green common there to go with our Sentinel of the Nameless City and maybe get into that blue-green Explorer deck. So we'll see. Pick number 7 now. Not a lot here. I guess I'll try out this Alchemy card. If we do end up in the full blue-green Explorer deck, then this Herald's Reveal should be able to seek a Merfolk sometimes, which I guess we could really build around this. The way the seek mechanic works is we put a random one from our library into our hand. So if we end up like cutting the River Herald Guide, we can make it so the only Merfolk in our deck is the Sentinel of the Nameless City, so that if we haven't drawn the Sentinel yet, then we can explore and then cast this to tutor out our best rare in the deck. But if we have drawn the Sentinel, just make sure that if we're going to be exploring in that turn, just cast this before we explore so we still draw a card. So that could be interesting. Could be a thing. Take the Mine card here. Colorless card can fit into any deck perfectly reasonably. It's never going to be insane. I mean, it is kind of insane with Captain Storm, but usually not the most insane card ever, but a fine option. Pick number 9. There is a pretty late Atali's Favor for red aggressive strategies. Cave Diver's cool, but most of the Explorer cards are just solid enough value that Explorer payoffs are never that exciting to me. Plus, if we do end up in like blue-green Merfolky Explory stuff, I kind of like the idea of trying to have a very low Merfolk count, so we always tutor out a really good one. Take the Atali's Favor here, but Dreadmaw's Ire is also a pretty sick red combat trick. Pick number 10, another Herald's Reveal to get to pick up some more Alchemy cards for this deck. I was going to say to get some more Alchemy cards. Stumbling over my words, as you do. These are all super filler off-color cards, so we'll take a Puzzle Door. Now a Hidden Cataract, although Sunfire Torch is reasonable early removal if you're a more aggressive red strategy that can get some attacks in with some cheap creatures. I like that better than the Cave, I think. Speculating on red there. Alright. Bunch of filler nonsense in the end here, but we have some really good blue, a great green rare. It's kind of where we're at here. Now we open up another great blue rare. The Kitesail Larcenist is nuts. It's a 3-mana 2/3 flyer with ward 1. When it hits the board, you turn anything into a treasure as long as it stays on board. So it is temporary removal, locking down your opponent's best permanent until the Larcenist dies. Or I guess leaves the battlefield for any reason, so if it gets exiled or bounced back to your hand or something, they can save their card from being a treasure. But this card is still just insane, because until they deal with it, it's giving you great value. What is this Alchemy card? Mycoid Resurrection. Each creature card in your graveyard gets +X/+X, where X is the number of permanents in your grave, then return one from your grave to the battlefield. That is a super fun build around for the black-green Descend decks in this format, because they already have a decent amount of graveyard recursion with the kind of spells that are like mill 2, then pick up 2 creatures from grave to your hand. So if you use this, like, you're immediately going to get a really big creature back onto the board, because you're going to make that creature really big from its ability. But then you're also going to be able to make anything else you pick up later bigger. That's a really fun Alchemy card. All right, we've got enough random red nonsense here to take the Captain Storm and hope that that pans out for us. This is an insane kind of like mythic uncommon if you end up in the blue-red archetype, because it's pretty easy to get a good amount of pirates and artifacts in your deck in this color pair, to where Captain Storm is going to be providing so many +1/+1 counters so quickly that she just needs to be dealt with within a couple turns, or she's going to absolutely steamroll your opponent. So I'm I'm going to take Captain Storm here and be super happy with that. I think she's a busted magic card. The other really solid cards here being Inverted Iceberg, or the Tishana's Tidebinder is a fun one, if a bit narrow. And we're mainly hoping to wheel Plundering Pirate or the Iceberg if we're really lucky, but even the Nautilus will be okay since it is an artifact creature. And now we want a really high artifact count. For pack 2, pick number 3. Throne of the Grim Captain's a really fun one. I think it's best in the grindier blue-black Descend kind of decks. I don't think it'll work particularly well in blue-red, especially because we're going to be more aggressively skewed. The highest mana value card we've taken so far is 3 mana value, so we're definitely just more like blue-red aggro. Although there's nothing good for blue-red aggro here anyway, unless I just take another Ancestor's Aid. Little combat trick or a pirate hat for kind of a filler equipment, but it does do some digging. Try to draw you the right stuff at the right time. I guess I do have the 6-drop Iceberg, so that is something. I guess I'll just take this Throne, but I don't think I end up playing it. I'm just going to take this opportunity to go ahead and sort our mana curve out, see how our creature curve is looking. Our 2-drop creatures are really good. Landlore, Navigator, Staunch Crewmate, and Captain Storm, but we do need some more 1/2 mana spells. 3 mana things get a little more filler. We of course have the Larcenist, but then Blade Master is the only other creature there. Yeah, we gotta up the creature count mainly. We've got plenty of filler non-creature spells. And unfortunately there are no on-color creatures here in blue or red. I could just grab another green rare now with the Hulking Raptor to go with our Sentinel of the Nameless City. I mean, the only thing on color we play is another non-creature spell like Dreadmaw's Ire. Probably the Dreadmaw's Ire over the Rumbling Rockslide just for the mana efficiency of it as a combat trick. It's just insanely efficient. Winning a combat and blowing something up often. I think I am going to speculate on a Hulking Raptor, though, if we're going to be seeing that pick 4. Maybe we're going to get a lot more green this pack than red and have to go that direction instead. We don't have the treasure production for Pirate's Landing to play particularly well. I think we have like one way to make a treasure token right now, just the Ancestor's Aid. I suppose with Kite Sail Larcenist, we can turn one of our permanents into a treasure and do that. So there's 3. There's the Minecart, the Larcenist, and the Ancestor's Aid. Still feels a little low for the Pirate's Landing. Plus, we're going to have a bunch of different pirates in this deck, so it's not even guaranteed to be drawing something great. I'm going to speculate towards green again. Grab the Jade Seedstones here, which is a really nice top-end card. It's going to hit the board, give you 3+1/+1 counters wherever you need them, so it's a decent little 4-mana play. But the great thing about this is when it flips and really helps stabilize as a 7/7 that gains you a bunch of life in the late game. So I'll take that there. Now there's an Armored Kincaller. I don't have a lot of dinosaurs here. I've got 1. But 3 mana 3/3 on curve is still fine. Okay, so we only have 4 green spells, but I think every green spell we have is great. When it comes to great red spells, it's really just Captain Storm, and then Sunfire Torch and Antali's Favor are like second up. I'm going to try to end up in green here, I think. I'm going to take the Armored Kincaller. I just feel like green's a bit more open than the red is looking. I'm definitely happy to be in blue at the very least. That part is working out fine, but the secondary colors being a little more finicky, a little harder to figure out here for sure. This is like a 7-drop creature. Lots of 3s. We need some more 2-mana stuff to do ideally. Which I guess Iceberg draws us the card on turn 2, but it doesn't impact the board as a creature till turn 6, which is awkward. Alright, there's a Malamet Brawler, filler 2-mana 2/2 creature. Not a fan of the Song of Stupefaction. It doesn't stop the creature from blocking, and it doesn't stop any of its abilities. So unless you really care about the self-mill as well, don't play that super often. Pick number 9. I'm not going to play the Relics Rare Combat trick. I'll just take an Idol of the Deep King just in case we find enough incredible red to go in that direction still. But I think blue-green's looking more likely. We did get the Nautilus back, but none of the red spells. But at least that is another artifact creature to go with the Landlore Navigator and the Staunch Crewmate. Take a Confounding Riddle for a decent filler non-creature spell. Okay, Out of Air is not a decent one. Put that in the side immediately. Take a Frilled Caveworm for a 4-drop. Staggering Size is a perfectly reasonable combat trick. +3/+3 trample is really nice when you're on the aggressive for just 2 mana. Okay, I think it's going to be blue-green nonsense pile today. See how it pans out for us. For pack 3, pick 1. There's a Soul Cleaver, which in the right board states can be pretty good when there's a lot of trading going off. And especially if you're a deck that has a ton of treasure tokens and map tokens, but I just don't think we are. I don't think the Soul Cleaver is going to be excellent in here. Probably want to get some more interaction. That is the biggest weakness of the blue-green color pair, I would say. There's no, like, hard removal in blue or green. We have fight spells and, like, curse spells like Eaten by Piranhas and bounce spells. So I think I need to just take the Eaten by Piranhas while it's here. So we have some ways to kind of deal with spooky threats. What a miss. Only card out of the pack is the rare, and there's one blue common and one green common. And they are not pick 2 worthy. There's unlucky drop or staggering size. I guess we take the unlucky drop here. Again, just for interaction. Yeah, this is a dud for us. Not what we wanted to see at all. Pack 3, pick 3 is much, much better. Now there's a Waterwind Scout and a Lodestone Needle, and those are both spectacular cards. We could also try to splash in a Reflection Net or throw in a Watley's Final Strike for some removal. This is a fantastic pack for us. I think we gotta just take the Waterwind Scout. Best just value play straight up. Lodestone Needle over the course of a long game does a lot of work when you flip into that Guidestone Compass. But I just love that upfront value of the Waterwind Scout, and I don't think we're the most consistent deck ever at crafting with artifacts. We can do it, like we've got puzzle doors, we've got some extra artifacts here that we might mill off of Inverted Iceberg or something to help, but it's not going to be as easy in this color pair as it is usually. That's a pick 4 Aneem Pakal. This card is nuts. It's also red-white when we're in green-blue, so we cannot play that either. So that's about to be a pick 5 Aneem Pakal for somebody. I think we just take the excellent 1-mana value play of the Cenote Scout, the 1-mana 1/1 that explores the second it touches the board. Seems pretty great to me. I guess the issue with that is that now that's one more merfolk to stop us from seeking our rare every time. I could take the puzzle door so that this is still just a tutor for our rare, but at this point we also have the Waterwind Scout as a really nice 3-drop merfolk, so I don't think I'm going to get to the point where I'm cutting every single merfolk from this deck. So might as well just grab the solid 1-mana value play. I am so sad about this. So red is definitely getting heavily drafted in this pod, but blue-red specifically is not. So we could have double Captain Storm, but then a lot of filler red spells to go with it. At this point, it's too late now. We've got Hulking Raptor and Sentinel. We've got huge reasons to be in green over red. We're going to take another River Herald Guide. But I am sad. I'm a little disappointed in that one. Oh, there's still a pretty good red card. Pick 6, Belligerent Yearling. But Kincaller it is for us. Pack is pretty empty here. The best card is the Miner's Guidewing for aggressive white decks, and no other deck wants almost any of these cards. Yeah. Hold down the Alt key, see how much I own of everything. I think I just rare draft an Alchemy card, I guess. Pick number 8, like the Brackish Blunder, that is super efficient removal. Jam that in here. Pick number 9 now. Another out of the air that I'm not going to place. Let's rare draft the Uncommon for Vault Progress. Pick number 10. There's a chance we play a Cartographer's Companion or a Captivating Cave just to crack the cave, get some counters on something. I think Companion's a little more likely, but we've got a lot of 3-drops, so it probably gets cut as well. Yeah, I don't think I'm playing 2 copies of Unlucky Drop, and it is possible we play this Glowcap Lantern. Not the most likely thing ever. It's an equipment that doesn't like buff your creature at all up front, but if you have a non-land card on top of your deck, then when you declare your first attack, you are getting a +1/+1 counter on that creature. And from then on, it just buffs it more and more, potentially. So that could be a thing. Probably not going to make the cut, but there's a potential. All right, we've got 30 cards in this deck, so we get to cut like 7 here. And that should be sweet. Alright, so we get to cut 7 cards out of this deck, and we've got a lot of pretty focused, pretty synergistic cards in here that might not pop off. The first and most obvious being the Throne of the Grim Captain. We don't have any vampires in this deck, and we don't have huge reasons to want to keep self-milling. So I think that is going to get cut out of here immediately. There's also a Shipwreck Sentry in here, which is just going to be a defender if we're not consistently putting artifacts on the board. And then the Staunch Crewmate is not going to be good value if we don't have at least... Usually I like to try to hit like 10 plus artifacts and pirates in the deck. That way about 1 out of every 4 cards is going to be an artifact or pirate for this. That makes this on average hit something more often than not. So kind of cross our fingers on the Crewmate if we have less than 10 cards that work for it. Currently, because we cut that Throne of the Grim Captain, we have 8 artifacts and 4 pirates. Now, one of those pirates is the crewmate itself, so we don't count that. So that's 8 plus 3 then. So we're at 11. So can only really cut 1 artifact or pirate here if I want the crewmate to still be relatively consistent. But I think I'll still keep it in the deck, even if we drop down to like 8 cards it could hit. Just because I think there's some stuff that's filler enough to end up cutting, like Cartographer's Companion with this many other 3-drops. Glow Cap Lantern's pretty slow. We don't really need the treasures from the minecart that badly, and we're not really good at crewing for 1, right? Because so many of our creatures are just already 2/2 flyers or 3/3s or bigger. And crew 1 vehicles are so much better in decks that have a lot of leftover little like 1/1 tokens or just 1 mana 1/1s and stuff like that. We don't have many creatures in this deck that are smaller than the minecart, so crewing for 1 is a real cost. I don't think minecart looks great for this kind of strategy. So that's another potential cut. So that's like 3 artifacts and a pirate that I kind of want to cut right now, which is looking real awkward for Staunch Crewmate, if we're being honest. So anything else here? 1 or 2 mana that we want to cut? Navigator, again, I only need to get 1 artifact on the board. So if I play an artifact naturally, or if we play a Waterwind Scout or a Sentinel of the Nameless City, that will also trigger the Landlore Navigator. I think there's a few more ways to trigger that, plus a Brackish Blunder for bouncing a tapped creature. That could also trigger the Navigator. And even if we never get a Thieving Magpie, just getting a map token every time it attacks means it's a 2 mana 2/1 that comes with basically at least 1 map token, which is already just good. Right? 2 mana 2/1, enter the battlefield, make a map token. That'd be a playable card, I think. Not like an insane card like Landlore Navigator is, but it would still be playable. There's that. Malamet Brothers actually just our weakest 2-drop at this point, for sure. But I do want to keep that count pretty high if we can. Let's take a peek at 3 mana, where we have some really great cards and some kind of filler cards. So Larcenist, Waterwind Scout, and Sentinel Nameless City are just never going to get cut here. The River Herald Guides, though, are just okay value. They're decent value. And the Kin Callers, if we're not gaining the 3, just a 3 mana 3/3 is just, again, filler. If we are gaining the 3, they're a great way to get a little bit of breathing room against more aggressive strategies and have a nice, pretty sturdy blocker against some of the more low-to-the-ground decks that just have like 1 mana 2/2 hastes, like the little Goblin Guide things. So I think they are really good when you're getting the life off of them, but without that extra ability, they're not insane. And we only have 3 dinosaurs in the deck, which means there's only 1 other dinosaur to go with these. So if I have a Armored Kincaller in my hand, then I have 2 other cards I could possibly have to gain the 3 life. I might have a Kincaller on board, or a Hulking Raptor on board, or I might have a different Kincaller or Hulking Raptor in my hand, but again, only 3 feels like we're really gaining that life very rarely, and I have so many other 3 mana things to do, we probably drop the Kincallers. Frilled Caveworm, we're just not filling our grave that much. It's a 4 mana 2/5 that is very, very mediocre, very whatever there. And for non-creature spells, I think I want to keep all the interaction, the Unlucky Drop, the Brackish Blunder, the Eaten by Piranhas, probably at that point the Counterspell as well, even though that's a little awkward. I mean, we do look like we're tapping out a lot and not holding mana up. Like, as soon as I have 6, I want to flip this. When I have 7, I want to flip this. And we've got like a bunch of 3 mana plays. Got some really mana intensive stuff to do. It's going to be hard to hold up 3 mana at instant speed when I don't really have any other instants in the deck. I mean, there's a couple, but like holding up a counterspell and playing an Eaten by Piranhas as your backup is just not insane because they're both kind of doing the same thing, answering a threat. You want a higher variety of instants to make your counterspells more easy to hold up, but that's the whole point of Confounding Riddle, right? If you hold it up and you don't end up wanting to counter something, you at least get to cast it as card draw. Just don't think our deck really cares that much. Yeah, that's a potential cut to me. If I had more 1s and 2s, I'd be a little happier with Staggering Size, but I think it's still really good on any of our 3-drops as a late game play. And I want to keep the Puzzle Door because we still have Double Iceberg, we have Staunch Crewmate, we have reasons to want these extra artifacts in here. Especially it's going to be a little difficult to craft these icebergs later, and Puzzle Door is one of the easiest ways to fuel your craft with artifact cards. But it's also just helping us hit some Crewmate, some Landlore Navigator synergies at random too. And then the Herald's Reveal, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the cut. Just a 1-mana card that cycles itself. It's not the craziest thing ever. But it is one of the new Alchemy cards. It'll be fun to play around with this and see what we can get going with it. We'll definitely try out those, even if they maybe should be the cut in the end. I'd like to play around with some new stuff. So I think I'm keeping all these other non-creature cards in, which at that point means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 non-creatures there. That's about what you usually have, right? That'd be like 16 creatures, 7 non-creatures would be the deck. So I guess we have to cut all these other non-creatures then if I'm keeping the rest of these, if we want to have a 16 creature count. So we'll just start by cutting all those. And then I guess I just run the most synergistic cards for crewmates and navigators and stuff. Cards that can help support the other cards that we're running. So Shipwreck Sentry gives us another pirate to pull out with the crewmate, even if it is just going to be a blocker for us, that's fine. Companion gives us another artifact and another map token, which can help as well. Hits our Explorer synergies with the Reveals, hits our artifact synergies with Inverted Icebergs, Shipwreck Sentries, Staunch Crewmates, Landlore Navigators, all that stuff. So that does seem pretty important. Then we get to cut 3 cards here. Probably drop Cave Worm for sure. And I guess double Kin Collar because there's so much at 3 mana. And we run the pretty filler Malamet Brawler. And that gives us a good 2 mana creature count for the Staggering Size, although one of them is a defender, the Staunch Crewmate. Or not the Staunch Crewmate, the Shipwreck Sentry is not going to be consistently attacking, so that might be a little awkward. But I still think this looks like probably the most reasonable, most synergistic deck we can be running here. Again, not a color pair I'm a particularly big fan of, but got a Sentinel, got a Hulking Raptor, got solid reasons to be in green. Blue was nicely open from the start, and we got that excellent Alchemy rare to build around with that Landlord Navigator. We got a Kite Sail Larcenist. We got the Icebergs at the top end. We got all your basic blue stuff you want here, really. Yeah. Think this is a solid deck, a decent deck, one of the better blue-green decks I've seen. I just think that this archetype, like a good blue-green deck like this, just kind of goes toe-to-toe with like a mediocre red-blue or red-white deck. So I don't feel like I'm super rewarded here for ending up in this color pair, but we'll see. Maybe it'll play out pretty well for us. We are going to call it a deck here. Alright, here's a final look at today's deck list. We're on a green-blue Explorer and map token kind of deck here. We've got some really powerful bombs in the color pair. We've got a Hulking Raptor at the top end of the curve, a 5/3 that's also going to help get mana for the other random top end cards. We've got a Sentinel of the Nameless City, which is just a huge value play and just a massive creature for the mana cost. We've got the Kaisail Larcenist being an evasive threat and a removal spell all in one. Just a lot of really powerful rares in the deck, alongside kind of a mythic uncommon, a Landlore Navigator, which is absolutely insane if you can get an attack off with it the turn that you play another artifact, because then you're spitting out a Thieving Magpie as well as the Navigator itself, getting huge value. So some really high power level cards in here, but it is in a pretty awkward color pair that has some issues to it. One of those just being the major lack of great removal. So we are just running an Unlucky Drop and a Brackish Blunder for bounce kind of removal, and an Eaten by Piranhas to shut off abilities and turn something into a 1/1. So that's a little narrow. And outside of that, it's just some general explore and map token value synergies with River Herald Guides, Waterwind Scouts, Cartographer's Companions, Cenote Scouts, stuff like that, all exploring to set up our draws or pick up some additional lands. So pretty standard green-blue stuff here, but with a bunch of high power level cards to hopefully carry us to some victories. But we'll see how it all does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game one with a pretty awkward opening hand. We need a green source pretty badly. We've at least got an inverted iceberg to help try to get there, and we're on the draw, plus a brackish blunder could give us a map token, which if we can get a creature on the board will also help us dig towards a green source. It's got one of the strongest cards in the whole deck with the Sentinel in the hand, so it might be worth a bit of risk here without having the green source naturally. Don't remember the count that we went with here. We've got 8 green sources in this deck. And we are on the draw. I think I am going to keep this. It's a close one though. Not the way we want to start with a risk like this. But there we go, immediately rewarded. And we get to drop the Cenote Scout turn 1, which should be awesome. And it hits another forest, so we are just doing really great on lands here. There's an inverted iceberg turn 2 from our opponent. They're a blue-red deck that has a Sunfire Torch on board that they can use to kill one of our cards. Once they equip that to a creature, they do 2 damage to any target. We're going to slam down a Staunch Crewmate turn 2 and hope it hits something. There are 9 cards in our deck that it hits at the point that we have been. After we've chose what we cut, we have 3 pirates and 6 artifacts, I think. So with the iceberg already here, there are 8 potential hits left. We did hit one, and it's the Landlore Navigator, which is a really good one if we can get an attack off with it. But they could just torch it away while it's still summoning sick, potentially. So, not going to play it next turn anyway, since we have our rare Sentinel to play that turn. But really happy to at least hit something off of the crewmate here. Even if I am scared for the longevity of the Navigator, I imagine this thing's going to die. Alright, drop the Goblin Tomb Raider, send in immediately. I don't hate the trade here. This card's drawn us a card. It's only 1 toughness, so it's not really going to trade into much better. It's not going to block any better, for the most part. Just get their creature off the board so they've got nothing to put the torch onto, unless they drop another one. Alright, jam in for a damage. And drop that Sentinel, the Nameless City, for value. Our map token is at the ready. There's an Oaken Siren from our opponent. 1/2 Flying Vigilance that can tap for some mana for artifacts and artifact abilities. No way to buff our scout here unless we hit a non-land on top. Is it worth the gamble? Kind of want to play Navigator and another 2-drop. The problem with that is I play Navigator and then they just torch it away. So the only reason it would be worth it to play a map is if I instead use a map and use the guide. Which might be the better play. If they kill guide with a torch, I'm a little less sad than if they kill Navigator with it. Let's go for it. And that can get us an extra damage here if we get the +1/+1 counter. We do not get the +1/+1 counter, though. That is awkward for sure. So just send in the Sentinel. Blue-red deck here. They could, like, block and abrade to kill the Sentinel, but then they've got no creatures on board, and I can resolve the Navigator and hope that it sticks around, because they've got nothing to put the torch onto. No abrade from our opponent. The Sentinel remains. So we drop that River Herald Guide, and that is the torch target, hopefully. Now we explore into a Waterwind Scout. Alright, that is a beautiful hit. Nice little flyer there. They're just going to brackish blunder the River Herald Guide to slow us down. That is fine. They've only got 2 cards left in their hand, but they have 2 icebergs on the board that they can flip because of their Oaken Siren. So they are going to flip an iceberg. Again, I can't really drop my Navigator because they can put the torch on the Siren and attack in. It's got Vigilance too, so it kills the Navigator off of Vigilance attack. I mean, we're definitely blundering this Titan. Next turn they just flip the other one. But if they have another mana, if they have another land to play, then next turn they can play a land, torch up the Siren, attack in, and still flip the other Titan. So I still just don't feel like Navigator's an excellent play. So we're definitely on Blunder, and then what are we doing with the other 3 mana? Are we just casting a Waterwind Scout or a River Herald Guide? Or are we playing like an Iceberg and using a map token? Play a Waterwind Scout, that's another card that dies to Siren. The Guide also dies to Siren. I guess it doesn't matter too much. Whatever I play here is probably getting torched if they have a land. Suppose I go for the River Herald Guide then. Find a Kite Sail Larcenist? These hits just don't stop coming. We are winning the lottery on this game. Now whenever they flip their next 6/6, we just turn it into a treasure token. And they are not going to flip a 6/6 this turn. They're going to go for an Idol of Deep King, which I think is pretty fine. They kill the River Herald Guide. They could have doubled up if they wanted to. They would 2-for-1 themselves to do it, but they could shoot Sentinel for 2 with the Idol and then also 2 with the Torch. But I think it's super reasonable to just kill the River Herald Guide there and still have that Torch threatening to kill a Navigator or a Waterwind Scout. If we have the mana later, we could end up playing this Waterwind Scout and using a bunch of map tokens on it just to try to get it to 3 toughness. Getting Navigator to 3 toughness is a lot more random. But if I immediately have an on-land on top, it would work. Right, we only have to sack 2 map tokens when there's an on-land on our deck to get 2 +1/+1 counters. There's Inverted Iceberg from our opponent, so they've got 2 more 6/6s ready to come at us. Well, really more ready to block, but because they can untap themselves when they attack, they will get Vigilant swings in, basically. Alright, they do suit up the Oaken Siren and poke us for 2. Got the Larcenist here, but I think I keep that to deal with a 6/6. Which means that for now, kind of want to play the Waterwind Scout. But one thing that I could do, because I have 6 mana here, is I have enough mana to play a Navigator, sack 2 tokens on it, and still sack another token to the Scout. So let's sack 1 token to the Scout, and if we see a non-land card, then we know we can sack 2 more tokens. Perfect. We know that we can sack 2 more tokens to get Navigator up to 3 toughness, so we can play Navigator this turn over the Scout. Because we're getting a map token off of the attack declaration, that's 2 +1/+1 counters, which means Navigator's big enough to survive getting it torched, which means we can chump attack with it next turn alongside a bunch of other stuff and spit out a Thieving Magpie when we do, which is gonna be spectacular. And I guess since they traded, we don't technically need it 3 toughness if they don't have a haste creature coming up. But I'm still gonna do that, just in case. Just in case they do have a Tomb Raider to throw a torch onto. But I imagine the play is flip a 6/6 and then we just Larcenist and then they just die. And they are flipping a 6/6. 1 mana left. Put the torch on it. But now they're super dead. We turn it into a treasure, and I've got +3/+3 to deal well over lethal. Could also try to use a map token if I want. But might as well just get that combat trick lethal here instead of doing the Waterwind Scout treasure token gamble. Or treasure token, map token gamble, I'm sorry. So really solid stuff that game. We just hit basically all of our strongest cards. Right, like we crewmated, we got a 2-for-1 off of it, we got the Scout turn 1, we hit perfect mana where we drew into the green source immediately. But yeah, we had a Sentinel into a Larcenist with a Navigator in there. Just hit some of our best cards there. and it seemed like our opponent was definitely on a much slower start than blue-red can be capable of, so overall just some solid luck there that game. Not too much to say for interesting things gameplay-wise, but it is nice to start off with a victory, 1-0, heading into Game 2. Here we are on the play for Game 2 with a potential turn 3 Navigator swing spitting out a Magpie. That's an absolute windmill slam keep here. And as cool as playing the Scout and the Herald's Reveille in the same turn would be, I think it's still better to just curve out here and play this into the Navigator. Even though I could turn 2, like, double those things up, which would be really cute. With this hand, I'm fine picking up a bounce spell. I think we just put this many threats on board and that's enough. Just bounce some stuff after that. Considering the Navigator is potentially 2 threats in 1. If I magically had 4 mana next turn, the ability to spit an artifact on board with the Iceberg and also blunder their potential blocker here, that would just be incredible, but we can't do both of those things. So I think we're just going to be spitting on an Iceberg and probably trading the Navigator off. I guess it doesn't trigger in the end step if it trades off, so we really need to blunder the turn that we attack with it if they have a blocker. They do play a red source turn 2, which means they do have access to cheap enough removal to kill the Navigator if it's in their deck. Fingers crossed it's not, but they could abrade it here or something. Alright, play a 1-3. That is enough to hold it off for now. So, I can blunder the Militia, attack in, get a map token, but that's not 2 artifacts hitting my board. So I can't get a Magpie this turn. I guess if I blunder it now, this gives us a shot at the map token, making the Navigator 3 power and 2 toughness, where it does get to attack in next turn alongside playing the Iceberg. Let's see. See how this goes for us. I think it's better to crack the map than it is to cast the draw spell. I have no idea how to pronounce this in English. I'm pretty sure it's a French word, which would be reveille, but that's not how you would say it in English. I want to say reveille, because that's what I would just say. It's just American English, but it's probably still just like reveille. Herald's Reveille? Probably. Probably. Pronunciation's hard. Turn 3 from our opponent. They probably just redrop the Militia. We unfortunately hit a land off the Explorer. Just a little more of RNG the set coming in hot. Where the coin flip of land versus non-land on top was really important there. Really hoping to get the +1/+1 counter, but we did not get it. That's Lost Caverns of Ixalan for you. There's a lot of variance with a bunch of Explorer and map tokens, and also the Discover mechanic is just a straight coin flip there too. Not a coin flip, that's like a roulette wheel spin. What do we do now? It's literally just a chump attack with Navigator currently, which is rough. We Sentry plus Iceberg, I guess. Trying to find a staggering size or some map tokens to get through. We're not trying to find more lands, but I'm happy to have milled one at least. We got 2 more lands out of the way. We milled one and drew one here. Yeah, maybe I should have just held off next turn, or last turn, and just tried to go for more consistency. Like, we went for a gamble last turn, but it would have been so insanely good for us if it paid off. I think it was worth it. It just didn't pay off. Well, this turn's going to be good. We get another Merfolk here, and two of the non-rare Merfolk are gone, so the odds of it being our bomb rare are a little higher. It's not our bomb rare, but it's a great card. Map token's nice here too. Although now that they have a 2/4, I don't think Navigator's getting in, period. We can cash it in for another map token at some point, though. She'll be fine value. There's their own Waterwind Scout. Really hate hitting a land off the River Herald Guide as well. If we had hit an on-land there, it'd be big enough to attack at a Cave Diver, which would be awesome. Unlucky Drop is very interesting to me. Got an artifact engraved? No, shoot. I wish I could just flip the Iceberg this turn, because being able to play an artifact and unlucky drop in the same turn would be incredible, because it's possible they just go for a 1-for-1 block on Navigator, where they just block with a 2-4 or something, and then we bounce that one creature so the Navigator sticks on board and we do conjure up another threat. Don't get to do that till we have 7 mana though, which means I don't play anything this turn if I want to guarantee that I'm playing an artifact next turn and an unlucky drop. Feels like waiting is wrong here when we can just drop a Waterwind Scout, and that's a super solid play. The map token lets us flip the Iceberg next turn, or we can crack the map token to try to get an attack in here. You know, our opponent's stuck on mana. We might have time to just dirtle around and try to maximize value. That's what I'm going to do here. We know we have the 7th land, so we know we can go scout unlucky drop next turn. So I'm going to go for it. I think we've got some breathing room to toy around with this stuff. It's not looking like an astronomically fast game. I think sometimes I get a little too worried about getting maximum value every turn and just dumping out the whole hand as quick as possible, because I am primarily an aggro player at heart. Sometimes it can be best to just slow down. I think a position like this is one of those times. We know our opponent is stuck on 3 mana. They didn't play a land last turn. They've explored into a Waterwind Scout and chosen to mill it. So they're not going to be playing like a ton of cards here. We have time. Don't have to go full speed ahead. Captain Storm. Okay, that time can run out real fast when a Captain Storm hits the board. There are several cards they could play that are 1 or 2 artifacts off 1 card, and all of a sudden this Merfolk is going to be like a 5/5 flyer real quick. Or no, that one's not a pirate. Never mind. They have no other pirates on board, so this Captain Storm isn't going to be horrible. It is still definitely concerning. Definitely concerning. Okay, so let's see how our opponent plays this one out here. They have so many creatures on board, they can pretty easily go for a multi-block on the Navigator. But if we attack with everyone here, that'll muddle things up a bit. Make it more possible that our opponent does not find a good double block here, because they want to block all around the board. So really, the only thing we care about here is that they just block Navigator with 1 creature. That's the only thing I really care about here. Any of their other blocks, they can take whatever they want. They've got 2 2/4s, so they're threatening to kill 2 of our creatures without losing a creature. Dang, that is really rude. So no unlucky drop there. Oh. Maybe. Yeah, if they block Navigator with 2 2/4s, then it's like, alright, Navigator's dead. But we can use the unlucky drop elsewhere to save something else if we need to. I think I'd be fine with the trades. Okay, this is fine, right? Can still slow them down pretty well with unlucky drop on the Cave Diver. And I just trade Navigator into Waterwind Scout, which isn't a bad deal for me. We still trade it off into a flyer this way. And we trade off into a Captain Storm. I mean, we're not getting what our goal was, which was to spit out a Magpie, but we're still getting an advantageous combat out of this. They're left with a single 2/4 now. And we've still got a solid board state here, with a 6/6 coming up, because we got 2 map tokens to craft for it. So flip a 6/6 and use a map token is going to be our play next turn. When we flip the 6/6, that means the Shipwreck Sentry gets to declare an attack, so if we can get the Herald Guide up to 4 power, I could attack with both those on the ground. Could be a thing. But it might just be better to buff the Waterwind Scout. for flying damage. Ooh. I guess I buff nothing then, and I just go for mana efficiency of playing the iceberg and flipping the other one. Seems pretty solid to me. Yeah, so no map tokens are going to get used this turn. We just poke for 2 with the scouts. I mean, technically one's going to get used. It's going to get crafted with. Are they going to brackish blunder my scout? Just replay it, get another map token. Nope. Does seem like they probably have a brackish blunder in hand, though, which means they're going to blunder the 6/6. Which is not horrible. Still get to draw another card off of it, but it definitely slows us down to give them some more room to try to stabilize here, because they're definitely far behind in life total. They need to be trying to buy that time. And that is what they're going to do here. I imagine they're blundering the iceberg in our end step so that they can use all their mana on other stuff during their turn. Yep, there it is. Blunder the iceberg and draw for turn. But I still have 2 icebergs to flip. I can flip my first one and then replay the second. Although I don't have enough artifacts to try to flip the second iceberg yet. But it's going to be a couple turns before I can even do that, mana-wise, anyways. Maybe they'll, like, abrade the first iceberg, so that's in the grave to flip the second one. They have found their 5th mana now. 5 out of 6 for flipping their own iceberg. And they do have an artifact in their grave, a dowsing device. Brazen Boarding. Oh, it's one of those insanely busted alchemy cards. God dang. Just the casual 3-for-1 removal spell. I'm going to kill your creature, get a 2/1, and draw a card off of 1 spell. Yep. That is part of alchemy drafts for sure. Some of these cards are completely absurd. Game plan stays. We flip an iceberg here. We're just not poking in the sky this turn anymore. Mill my staunch crewmate. R.I.P. my friend. R.I.P. I think we have any discard in this deck, and our opponent's not going to have any discard in blue-red, so just play the lands out. Curator of Sun's Creation. We haven't seen any discover from them yet, but if they have any, that card is real scary. With Atali's favors and stuff, discover 3 twice. If they don't end up casting any discover, then it's pretty bad, 4 mana 3/3. But all it takes is 1 discover card and they've gotten their value off of it. Turning it into like a 4 mana 3/3 that discovers 3. It's pretty good. Well, they have 2 mana up. If they have a braid, they just kill the Titan. They just abrade the Titan. Oh, that is perfect mana. Let's go. Okay, so I can cast the Cartographer's Companion pre-combat so the Shipwreck Sentry can attack, and also have the mana up to flip the iceberg off of the map token. We're playing it pre-combat because if they don't abrade our Iceberg Titan, then we're going to attack with it, tap down the 2/4, which means that the 3 power creatures also get in against these other 2. If they're going to Eaten by Piranhas, the Iceberg Titan, then we don't get a trigger off of it to tap something. So I don't think we get any attacks in here, unless I like use a map token to buff one of these 3 power creatures to 4, but then I don't have the mana to flip the other Iceberg. Yeah, we just flip the other iceberg then. Believe I go wide here and just keep a 1/1 on board because it's 1 more damage in the future. When we go wide. Geological Appraiser. Well, there you go. Curator of Sun's Creation was basically a second copy of Geological Appraiser here. They discover 2 damage removal and Subterranean Schooner, which is a fantastic rare. Very similar to our green rare, which is just a really cheap, super valuable play. Crews for only 1 and keeps letting the creatures that crewed it explore when it attacks. It's also incredibly good against Iceberg Titan. Just vehicles are in general, where I attack in and I tap down the militia, then they just crew this anyway and still have a 3/4 blocker up, which is pretty frustrating. Yeah, that's really annoyingly good. Alright, well, I mean, the 2 damage removal discover was fine. Hitting the schooner is rough for the Iceberg Titan. I can attack it and tap that down, but then you just double block with these 2. Actually, blocking with these 3 would still kill the Iceberg Titan, and we only killed 2 of their creatures. Man, those Appraiser hits really did get us here. So now we don't really have attacks yet. We just jam out what we can. Find a piece of poop to toss in the graveyard. Looking for our big 7 drops and bombs and stuff. I guess we hit both our Iceberg Titans, so there's only 1 7-drop in the deck now, just the Jade Seed Stones, but that thing would be nuts at this point in the game. Our +3/+3 trample trick would be really good too. And this game has gone long. We only have 13 cards left. Oh my god. They got the Curator and the Mythic Discover 5 every turn? Ah. Well, we're probably dead now. God. Got some really great hits here. I think the thing that really sealed the deal was the 3-for-1 Brazen Boarding. Brazen Boarding? Not Brazen Boarding. The 3-for-1 Brazen Boarding really did help stabilize them here. Like, they wouldn't have had as much time to be dirtling around with Curator Appraiser to get out of this one. Now there's just no shot, unless we can mill them out. Yes, it is possible, because now that they're discovering 5 twice a turn, they have no choice but to do that. They are going to just dump their whole deck out pretty much immediately here. Feels unlikely that them dumping their whole deck out is going to get us in a position where they don't just kill us, but if they don't just kill us, then they do die to milling. We have found our Kite Sail Larcenist, which is definitely something. This only turns an artifact or creature into a treasure. So I can't turn their enchantment aura into a treasure to make it fall off our Titan, which would probably be the best we could have done. Instead, we just make the Chimil stop discovering, I guess. But even then, we're never getting an attack in from now on. I guess I start chipping in for 2 in the sky every turn. They only have 1 flyer. That is something. Yeah. That's all we got. We just keep our board. Oh, you know what I could do, which is kind of fancy? If I choose the Iceberg Titan, Eaten by Piranhas falls off, and then when the Larcenist dies, the Titan is back to being a creature. Because it doesn't have an Eaten by Piranhas on it anymore. That's pretty cool. At least there's that. I don't hate that. There's the Merfolk Cave Diver they had on top. There's a Wanderglyph. Guess now we have to be worried about milling out. They can try to ping us out with Sunshot Militia, but we're winning that race. Unless they start tapping down some of their blockers, they're dealing 2 to us a turn, and we're dealing 2 to them a turn when they're at 9 and we're at 18. I guess 17 this turn. All right, opponent passes turn, and we find the Herald's thing. So just draw a card here. I'm not going to do any exploring anytime soon. They do have a pirate hat they can put on their Oaken Siren, which is not good for me. They make it a 2/3 vigilance, which means I don't attack into it ever. And they draw a card, discard a card off of it every turn if they want. I don't know why they didn't equip that here. They must have a 1 red mana spell. Or they have like a Cogwork Wrestler or something. I'm confused. Do I poke for 1 here? There's nothing they can have that just kills Larcenist, right? At instant speed for just 1 mana? They could have a 1 blue mana artifact or a 2 mana instant speed artifact. Maybe it's some alchemy card, I don't know. I feel like they would just pirate hat up the Siren and then I can't attack in anymore anyway. Probably just cash in this 2 damage while I can, and then we just hold off every other turn from then on. Maybe they were just doing a bunch of math and they're like, well, if I attack with all my creatures, then I'm dead this turn somehow. Oh, that is way too explosive to outrace. And pretty much impossible to outrace because all the creatures on the ground. Yep. They make that thing at least a 6/6 that attacks and spits out 6 1/1s, and then you can just sack those 1/1s and... Alright. We've got some great kind of cheap bombs in here, but I think we've been a little outclassed in the long game. In card quality. Just a little bit. But a little bit is enough. Well, they equipped the Siren, but they tapped it to do that. So no flying blockers again. I can poke them down to 5. If nothing else, we got close. Well, there's one of our bombs. Doesn't do much at this point in the game, but it is still beef. Still no good ways to get in on the ground here. They can block the Iceberg Titan in a way where they only lose 1 creature. So they can block it with 2 2/4s and a 3/3. Even if I tap down one of the 2/4s, or if I tap down the Schooner. If I don't tap down the Schooner, they can block it with a 3/4 and a 3/3, and I just only kill a 3/3. Nobody else on the ground attacks any better. I guess I can send in the River Herald Guide, but it just trades into a 3/2 or a 2/1 even. Yeah, no, we just don't have anything here for breaking through this. We poke for 2, send a message, and drop a Hulking Raptor, and then start dying to a 3-fold Thunder Hulk. Nine cards to 11 cards. 9 cards to 10 cards. They're not milling out fast enough. Even with the Pirate's Hat, I think they just kill us with Thunder Hulk before they mill out. I don't think they can really get an attack in with it this turn. But they can like dump all their mana into juicing it up into at least like a 6/6. And the next turn is when they get to push in for an attack. And however we block, they can buff it up to like 9 power toughness or something like that. Wipe out most of our board and get like 9 1/1s. But I don't think they have the mana to send it in this turn. Like this turn, I think they just sack all the 1/1s to make it a 6/6. But and it's 2 mana per 1/1, right? Yeah. Okay, we might have a little tiny chance because they're just letting us kill it. They don't have any tricks on board and they have nothing in hand. They are just going for the attack now. they just waited a turn, made it a 6/6, and then attacked, it'd be a 6/6 with 6 1/1s to sack, and they'd have all their mana untapped. Now instead, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 9 mana, which it only matters in multiples of 2. So basically they have 8 mana, which means they sack 4 things. They're attacking with basically a 7/7 here, which I can absolutely kill. I mean, I could just trade a single creature into this. I just gotta double check they don't have tricks here, but they just sack enough things to make it a 7/7, yeah. Maybe they're just trying to like speed kill us with Sunshot Militia. Now that could be a thing, just making all these to speed kill us. Okay. We need to put 7 power over there. Probably want to just lose 1 creature, so we just do this and let them kill an Iceberg Titan. I could put like Herald Guide and Shipwreck Sentry there, or Hermetic Nautilus and Shipwreck Sentry, but then we're losing 2 creatures. I think with how wide the board is, we kind of just need to lose 1 creature to not die to a bunch of militia pings and then a wide attack as quickly. I guess the biggest argument for not blocking with Titan here is that Titan can help Larcenist get like a final lethal swing in by tapping down an Oaken Siren, but it can only do that 1 time because they can block and kill it easily. And we need to get 3 more attacks with Larcenist to kill them. So we still need to draw something to deal with the Siren regardless. I don't think I have much left to do that. No, I've got Eaten by Piranhas still. We have Eaten by Piranhas in Staggering Size and Jade Seedstones. Hold up. 3 of our 9 cards are kind of like, not insta-wins, but definitely keep us in the game here. Jade Seedstones make the Larcenist 5 power, force the chump with Siren. The big issue here is, okay, so 3 of our cards give us like a 3-turn kill or a 2-turn kill. I don't know if we have that long against Militia with this wide of a board state. Like, we might just be dead on their next turn. I guess we'll find out. Seedstones, I think, has to be the best draw in our deck. We make Larcenist 5 power, and we flip it and gain a bunch of life. Not a bunch, but like 3 or 4 life when we flip it. Come on, Jade Seedstones off the top, baby. All right. Land for our opponent, but if we just keep drawing lands, our opponent 100% wins this game. Each player draws lands from here on out, because we don't have any damage getting in. But they have plenty. They're going to craft their Titan here. Cool. There's a ping. Probably a couple more. We might just be dead next turn. 10 life right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pings. They can ping us for 7 minimum next turn if they don't connect for any damage by attacking at all. We have 2 more turns maximum this game. Come on, Seedstones. I believe. It ain't a seed stones, but it's something. Got an issue here, though. That's that I don't think I can use this on the Oaken Siren anymore. This point in the game, if I use this on the Oaken Siren and attack with the Larcenist, I have 5 blockers. I have 5 blockers against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 attackers, and they have a militia for pings. I mean, I have to use it on militia, because then they don't even have to declare attacks, but at this point they could probably just declare attacks, too. It's just too late for Eaten by Piranhas here. I think Seed Stone still would have been fine, because it gives us life gain as well. Life gain and a 7/7 and kills the Siren. I think Seed Stones was like our only out at this point. Eaten by Piranhas looks fine here, but I'm pretty sure they can probably just attack all and kill us next turn. We have to use it right now, because if we don't, the Raptor's going to shoot us for 4. Well, our opponent drew something. Yikes. Alright. 3 spells. I don't know why that took so long to cast. Their whole deck is lands now? How did they draw every non-land in the deck? I guess because they discovered a few times. They drew every spell in their deck. They have played all of their gas. Oh my god, no wonder we're getting outclassed. That makes a little bit of sense. That would explain why they feel like they've been ahead the entire time. They've played every single spell in their deck now. Alright. Buff the Cave Diver. Oh yeah, unblockable with the Cave Diver because they explore with the schooner. I don't even think they need to do that. They just all attack all. We're already dead. Attack with only these? I mean, that gives us a turn to top deck Staggering Size and kill them. I'm happy with this. Do it. Now I have 2 outs out of 7 cards. I get like a 1/3 chance at winning. Slightly less than a third, but if I hit Jade Seed Stones or Staggering Size, that's lethal. Okay, we still get another turn here. And I imagine maybe it isn't lethal attacking with everybody. I imagine our opponent did the math. Maybe not. I mean, math is for blockers. So they're just like, I don't know. Gauntlet will figure it out. I mean, whatever I do here, I'm just trying to top deck one specific card, because basically no matter how they play next turn, we're going to die. They can just click the all attack button easily. So I just stop as much damage as I can. Doesn't matter what goes to the grave. Seed Stones and Staggering Size are my outs, no matter how this combat goes. So, I don't know, might as well kill the Iceberg Titan for fun. Oh wait, no, the Oaken Siren has Vigilance, so I don't have any outs, actually. God dang it. Alright, I was wrong. I don't know why I forgot about the Vigilance here. If the Siren didn't have Vigilance, then those would be 2 outs to kill our opponent. But it does. Now I'm sad again. Staggering Size could still kill them if they play really badly, but that's the only chance now. Sentinel would have been really good at any other point, but the only card that matters here is Staggering Size. So if we drew Staggering Size and attacked with everybody, it's possible they play really badly to where we trample over for lethal. The most likely opportunity for that is if they like block here, and just block Nautilus with like one creature. Then the idea would be to Staggering Size the Nautilus and +3/-3 it many times, so it's randomly just like a 10 power trampler out of nowhere and we kill them. But we didn't hit Staggering Size, so we don't have that potential lethal out of nowhere. So we're incredibly dead. Well, disappointing ending here, but I don't hate how this played out in terms of, I mean, our opponent cast every spell in their whole deck, so it is what it is. I think we still fought pretty hard, fought pretty well, and I think it's a solid sign for future games, but a loss in the end on that one. We are 1-1 heading into game 3. Here we are for game 3 with a mono green hand, which is super awkward. It's mono green and it doesn't do anything until turn 3. 2 blue spells. I just don't see a huge payoff here for even taking the risk of keeping a mono card hand, so I'm going to take the mulligan here. This is even worse. Combat trick with no creatures. I guess it's not worse, it's just as bad though. This gets the upside of having 2 colors, but the downside of having no creatures. I would rather not moldify, but I kind of feel like we have to on this one. This is the best hand we've drawn so far. So even in hindsight, I would take this 5-card hand over the first 2, so solid luck on the 5-card hand, if not on the first 2. I believe we do this. Start things off with the River Herald Guide. Feels most like I have more blue spells than green spells, but my double green cards are cheaper. I've got the double green and 2 dino I could hit, but my double blue spells like the Iceberg are 6 mana, so maybe we do double green and 1 over double blue and 1. I think it matters too much either way. Could also gamble on it a little bit and just hope to draw land 3, turn 3, and then River Herald Guide digs for the next one. I'm gonna gamble. Let's go for it. We've got a couple coin flips to get there. Maybe we will not miss on both. There you go. Scout helps a lot, because if the land isn't there, we shove it into the grave to look for the land. And if the land is there, then we're getting some card advantage back. Doesn't feel so bad mulling to 5 when we draw some extra cards randomly off of the scouts. Oh, wow. All right, so Sentinel time. Speaking of oh wow, Navigator's a terrifying card, but with 2 blockers for it, they're not really going to be able to get an attack off of it and have it still on board in their end step, unless they have some insanely efficient interaction. I imagine they could have like a Petrify to deal with the Sentinel here, but we still have this 1/1 threatening to trade into Navigator when they attack in. No attacks. Straight past the turn. 3 mana up in blue-white. There's no, like, destroy an attacking creature in this format. There's 5 damage to a tapped creature. There's exile a tapped creature. I mean, we just jam in with the Vigilant card, right? I could Larcenist post-combat to really make sure they don't do anything with Navigator, but might be better to, like, play Crewmate and crack a token, or play a River Herald Guide. Just drop a Dork and explore here. Let's see what happens. I want to see what they could have here for their 3 mana. It is a little suspicious they didn't cast anything during their turn. So far, so good. It could be the 3 mana counter unless you pay 4. It's not a particularly popular card, but I think it's popular enough. I still don't want to just Larcenist and Navigator when we have other super solid plays. I'll go for the River Herald Guide here. Leave all these map tokens around. Throw them all onto flyers later, maybe. It's the counterspell. Genuinely didn't expect that, but that was our best play into the counterspell. Four mana for our opponent. They could have enough mana to play 2 pieces of interaction now to get an attack in with the Navigator. Blunder plus Petrify, but then they wouldn't have had an artifact hit the board to get the Thieving Magpie out of it. Activate a Restless Anchorage and block with 4 power and 4 toughness over there. If I had 1 more mana, they couldn't do a good double block here against the Sentinel, but I don't. I guess since I have a 2-drop in hand, I can gamble on the map onto the Sentinel. It plays poorly if they have their own unlucky drop or bounce spell or something on Sentinel. They respond to us trying to explore by bouncing it. But if they're trying to crew the, crew, quote-unquote, the land and double block, then that's how we can still get an attack in for the turn. I could also just see if they have another counter. If they don't have double counterspell, then Larcenist is also pretty good here. I feel like the odds of them having just double counter in hand are pretty low. Let's go for the Larcenist. There's only like 2 counterspells in this format, and only one of them is good, and that's the uncommon one. I think I'm happy to turn a map into a treasure here. Alright, cool. I still think I don't attack with the Scout, because if they deal with the Larcenist in any way, I don't want to not have enough blockers for the Navigator. I just really don't want this thing to trigger on attacks and get that Magpie. Like, I could see them having the instant speed removal for the Sentinel here, and then it goes to their turn, and then they sorcery speed removal the Larcenist. And that'd be really bad for me if I had a tapped Scout. Especially if the sorcery speed removal can, like, be cheap enough to give them a artifact hitting the board at the same time. Alright, do they have enough tricks here to kill the Sentinel on the attack? Would be pretty nuts. Would be impressive. So there's a Wrestler, that's 1 power. They've got 3 power if they crew the Anchorage, but 3 is not 4. Okay. Flanker and Wrestler will do it. Can't really play around Wrestler plus Flanker, like the rare here. And this is still not abysmal. We've gotten 3 map tokens of value off of this Sentinel, and we're still going to trade into a Flanker. We don't even, like, lose the Sentinel without losing a creature. Or without trading into a creature. We are legitimately trading 1 for 1 into one of their cards still. So yeah, that was still all in all pretty excellent value off of the Sentinel. Even if we don't get to keep it around forever. Get multiple map tokens, force them to use Wrestler's combat trick, and trade into a Flanker. It's not bad. Alright, they've got 2 mana up. They could have like another Cogwork Wrestler here, but if I get a +1/+1 counter on a Larcenist, that's not enough. They're not adding any extra power to block with in the sky. They could still have the Saw Blades and stuff that shoots tapped creatures specifically. So maybe I drop a Scout and juice that one up instead. Just take the turn off here. I don't hate it. Now, if they have the Saw Blades, because of the ward, they wouldn't be able to cast it right now, but I'd still have a tapped Larcenist for when they untap, and then they can Saw Blades it. So I'm just going to juice up a Waterwind Scout and start attacking with that and see if that pulls any removal out, and if it doesn't, still fine, we'll still be jamming in for damage. don't think I need to be super aggressive with my map token usage to, like, crack the treasure map here to do it again right now, since I can't even declare an attack with a scout this turn anyway. There's an inverted iceberg. Good mill for us. They milled the Waterwind Scout. Hopefully drew a weaker card. All right. Looking to get 2 +1/+1 counters here. So just a non-land on top. Come on. Nope. Couldn't be me. Well. No, we can't get 2 +1/+1 counters. Means this only matters. This only matters if I put a token on the Larcenist now, since I only have one way to make a token. Because Larcenist only needs one token to attack into the Cloud Guard when I'm holding up Unlucky Drop. Oh my god, that's really bad. So we're not doing anything. At least we dug out a bunch of lands, which means crewmate is more likely to hit an artifact or pirate. Since we got a bunch of lands out of the way. Get a Nautilus or a Shipwreck Sentry. Ah, lose a Staggering Size on a Brackish Blunder. So we're dumping 3 non-lands to the bottom of our deck, which means we're probably going to hit a land clump again. The sequencing of draws here is not what we want it to be. That's for dang sure. Can't attack in here. Larcenist trades into the Cloud Guard, and Scout just dies to Restless Anchorage. They'd have to crack their treasure token that Larcenist gave them to animate the Restless Anchorage, but it would be worth it to kill a Waterwind Scout without losing a creature. I mean, they sort of lose a Navigator, but... Oh... Abuelo is actually incredible against Larcenist, because now they can just flicker the Navigator to get it back. They can also flicker whatever they want on blocks to have infinite blocks. They just block and flicker, they don't lose the creature, and they get another 1/1 during the end step. They can flicker the Iceberg over and over to draw more cards. Now Abuelo's just going to take things over. Man, we are getting hosed by the weaknesses of our color pair here. Because we need hard removal for Abuelo, and that just doesn't exist. We've gotten eaten by piranhas in here. That's about the best we could do. We had an opportunity to get a Watley's Final Strike, but I'm pretty sure I took something way better than Watley's Final Strike out of the pack where I grabbed it. Or where I could have grabbed it. So we Unlucky Drop to slow them down, and that is basically all we can do. Oh yeah, this is the treasure, not a map. We can't buff Larcenist or anything at this point. I don't even know if that's any good, right? They just recast it next turn. It's not like I get any damage in by doing that. I guess I can attack in with Waterwind Scout now. That's something. They don't have the mana up to activate Restless Anchorage. Kind of want to hold up Unlucky Drop mana, and I don't think another 2/2's insane here. I mean, it's fine, but it does die to a 2/3 on attacks. I'm going to hold up Unlucky Drop. But Abuelo's just going to start grinding out this game well in our opponent's favor. Whoa! Never mind. Now they can't save the Landlord Navigator because they cracked it. And I can Unlucky Drop the Cloud Guard in response to this, and this doesn't even trigger. They just have to replay Cloud Guard next turn. Which is like, yeah, they're gonna get a 1/1 again, but they're gonna get the 1/1 again to it coming back during the next end step anyway. This way they have to spend their whole turn recasting it instead of just having it naturally reappear on the board. Well, that was helpful. I think that was just really good for us that our opponent chose to crack the navigator to go for that. So that's something. We find any action, that's something to turn things back around. And now we can just trade Larcenist off like normal. So we can actually attack in with both here. And Nautilus is a fine attacker on this board, but Crewmate's definitely not. I guess Nautilus just gets blocked by Wrestler, but that's what Vigilance is for. They make a bad block, we get to just free kill a 1/1. If they block with Wrestler, whatever, it's got Vigilance, we're good. Alright, cool. Larcenist trades for Cloud Guard. That is super fine when they have an Abuela on board to abuse that enter the battlefield effect anyway. And they no longer have anything that Larcenist is going to give them back. So we accept this. This is now a map token again, so I can use it on the Waterwind Scout trying to get a 3-power flyer to attack into a 2/3 flyer. So I think I do that. While I have plenty of extra mana. Find another land, drop a Malamet Brawler. And pass the turn. Tinker's Tote has arrived. A couple 1/1s and a bunch of life gain. Most importantly, it's incredible with Abuelo. They just get 2 more 1/1s every single turn, as long as they have the 3 mana to use it. Send in with Abuelo because they're not going to block our Waterwind Scout anyway. There's our own Landlore Navigator. It's pretty bad against 5 1-power creatures on board, though. Threatening to get 2 more all over. They do not have the mana to activate Restless Anchorage right now, so we get that Waterwind Scout attack. Brawler trades into a 1/2 because they double block with a 1/2 and a 1/1, so that's pretty bad. Yep, that's all we got. Nautilus just bounces off a Cogwork Wrestler again. Or they could quadruple block it, 3 1/1s and a 1/2. That, I think, would be better for me than I activate the Nautilus, kill 3 1/1s. But when they can keep flickering a Tinker's Tote, I don't know how great that is, actually, all things considered. Abuelo's jamming in for 2. Grandpa's getting in. We're down to 16. Now I don't have any attacks because they have a 2/3 flying blocker. And they just get to flicker the Tote. Sadly, with the way that Magic Arena works, they don't get to flicker the Tote till the end step if they didn't put a manual stop on our main phase. Yeah, which means their Tote is not going to come back when they want it to. It's going to come back during their end step, which is awkward. When you have Abuela, you want to put manual stops at the end of your opponent's second main phase, so you get your card back sooner. I don't think it matters too much in the grand scheme of things, but in this position. But there's definitely been times that I've made that misplay where it matters a lot, where I wanted to like flicker a Cloud Guard and have it come back during my opponent's end step so that I could attack with it next turn. But you have to do it during the second main phase, right before that next end step begins. If you do it during the end step, it's going to wait till the next turn's end step. But if you do it in main phase 2, the beginning of the next end step is literally 1 step away of the same turn. Alright, Tinker's Tote's back. The massive board on ground gets even massiver. How much more exploring do I have in this deck at this point? We have one map token from a Brackish Blunder, potentially. One Cartographer's Companion, one River Herald's Guide. There's 3 more cards in my deck that can explore out of 18. I just draw. Puzzle Door's a good one. Find the best card in the top 2. I guess I could have cashed in Navigator, turned Navigator into a map token, let it die just to have explored this turn. There's the answer for Abuelo. It's definitely a thing. Take that. I could still cash in the Navigator, turn it into a map token if I want. If I try to Eaten by Piranhas their Restless Anchorage, Eaten by Piranhas is just gonna fall off of it anyway. Well, I guess... No, they activate it for 3. They declare the block, then I Eaten by Piranhas it, and it dies. Because it's a 1/1, taking 2 damage. So I could kill the Restless Anchorage instead of Abuelo. Puts them down to just 5 lands on board, and their only flyer just trades into Waterwind Scout. But Abuelo's ability is so good it feels like I have to just shut that down and let them keep the Restless Anchorage. Yeah, I feel like I have to just deal with Abuelo, unfortunately, which means we don't get any attacks in. Because my combat trick, my staggering size, is on the bottom 4 cards of my deck because of the Staunch Crewmate. They want to use the ability again. Pass to end turn. I don't think so. Because if I click this, it's going to go to their turn and then they do more things. I guess they don't. They already have the mana to do more things anyway if they want to. The only way that they get more out of Abuelo by me waiting till their turn is if I wait all the way till their end step where they get the Tinker's Tote back on the board. So when that trigger goes on the stack to put the Tinker's Tote back on board, that's when I'll eat Abuelo. So there's the trigger. So now we just eat Abuelo. They've got the Mischievous Pup, and they held the 3 mana up for that last turn. That's why they did an Abuelo twice. So this would have happened whichever time I used it. And that means no shot. It's clearing out Abuelo. Either way, I played that out. Well, that's bad. But they're tapped out of making a flying blocker here, so we hit for another 2. Well, ooh. A little something, more like a big something. Yeah. That all goes on a Waterwind Scout, I'm pretty sure. Juice it. We are giving the Waterwind Scout the performance enhancement it needs. I don't have any Graveyard Recursion in this deck, so it doesn't matter what I exile to flip my Seed Stones. It's gonna say all my creature cards in grave are good. I don't want to exile those. I'm like, well, I can't pick them up from grave anyway. So just exile the highest mana value one to gain the most life. But they're all the same mana value, so I guess I'll just exile the weakest of the 3 drops. Alright. A 7/7 is also pretty fine on this board. It's probably just going to keep getting chumped by their infinite 1/1s they're getting from Tinker's Tote. Whoa! You don't even need to attack with the Navigator? This card's completely broken. Oh my god. How did I never see that till now? That card is so unfair. Good lord. Alright, well, we got a Thieving Magpie saying what's up. Problem is, they've got the mana to double block it with Abuelo and the Restless Anchorage. And it doesn't kill either of those, it just dies. But then that means Waterwind, if they do that, Waterwind Scout gets in, and they go to 3. What do you see, River Herald Guide? I am now completely terrified, though, because blue-white should be way more consistent in getting 2 artifacts to hit the board. 2 artifacts! Okay. Navigator's so dumb. What do I do? What do I do? Do I chump attack with Magpie? There's no way that's advantageous, right? Because, like, no matter what they have, it's just gonna be bad. The only way that it's worth it to attack it with Magpie is if they legitimately can only just go for the double block here. And this just guarantees scout hits for 5. But against anything else, it's just worse to do it. Because, like, if they're just tapping out for removal on Waterwind Scout, then they just bounce off the Magpie anyway. I'm not getting any damage in or anything. Yeah, no, I just keep this Magpie. We just sent in the Scout. I probably should have sent in the Attendant, though. Clear out one of the 8 1/1s. No. That's so disappointing. Oof, and they weren't the starting players, so get the added bonus, too. Now it's time for Abuelo to start going to town again. Waylaying Pirates to stun my Magpie to get some flying damage in. A 19, so that's not terrifying. Are they going to attack with Navigator and flicker it with Abuelo? It's not going to work how they want it to. It won't come back till after the beginning of their end step, so they won't be able to get a thing off of it. Plus, it would only be 1 artifact hitting the board to get the map token. They're definitely reading over the abilities, trying to see if they've got any spicy little synergies like that available. Now they could just keep Abueloing the Waylaying Pirates and being immensely annoying. They just chump block with the Waylaying Pirates and flicker it. Okay, that doesn't work how they want it to either, because they don't get the 1/1s again until after the beginning of the end step, so Navigator doesn't trigger. It's already past the opportunity where Navigator would have triggered. So that was better for me, I think, than if they had just held off on using Abuelo, because then they would just chump with Pirates and flicker, get a Pirates trigger here. That would definitely be a worse outcome for me. Probably using these map tokens on our Magpies, right? Believe we are. I don't think I should be playing less than 17 lands, but these games have made it feel like that. I guess with this much Explore, we can probably get away with it a little bit. Alright. Let's clear out some stuff and get a Magpie. Clear out a 1/1. Let's go. Boop. Well, I was pretty sure I like insta-lost the moment Abuelo hit the board, but it's been like 15 turns from then, so... We're trucking along, we're trying. Very similar to round, that round against the blue-red deck where they just played every single spell in their whole deck. Where it's like, I mean, we're trying. This is one artifact. Post-combat, they're going to play another, so they get a magpie. I imagine that's the game plan here. There's one of the two artifacts they need. I feel like our opponent might not have realized that they didn't need to attack with Navigator to trigger it either. But then once mine triggered, it was like, oh snap. Wait, that card's insane. Now we both know. And Pandora's box has been opened. Okay, just one artifact it is. Just getting damage in. Stop. Where's my mana severance so I can exile all my lands from my deck now? Why did they do that? Do they want to mill me out because I'm down to 10 cards? Maybe that's what it is? I mean, they're letting me... Theoretically, they're letting me hit them for 2 and draw 2 cards here. I guess they're just trying to mill me out, which is possible. They have so much stuff on ground. Yeah, they're probably going to mill me out, but... Even if they don't mill me out, like with Abuelo, like they just win the long game anyway, so I think my best bet is still to just jam in for damage regardless. What if I chump attack with a Brawler to give Jade Heart Attendant trample? I don't know, let's cash in some damage here. Instant speed removal, I'd be very sad. Not only is it instant speed removal, it is another busted alchemy instant speed removal spell. This is Oblivion Ring, and it lets them make one of their creatures a copy of whatever they exiled. It's going to be better for them if they exile a magpie than if they exile the Jade Heart Attendant, because the Jade Heart Attendant, when it's exiled, is not a creature anymore, so they can't make one of their 1/1s a Jade Heart Attendant, but they can make one of the 1/1s a Thieving Magpie, which would be miserable for me. Alright, that's fine. So they can't do anything with the net. They can't make anything of Seed Stones, and even if they could, it wouldn't actually do anything. It is sad to not be able to try to hit for some with that 7/7, but that made the Reflection Net just play like any other instant speed removal spell, instead of like instant speed removal that also flips their thing. Okay. We know one of these 3 cards is a staggering size, right? When did I put these 2 lands on the bottom? Did I start this game on a Multi-5? Is that what it is? I think this was the game I started on a Multi-5, which means 2 lands, and these are the 3 Staunch Crewmate cards. One of these is staggering size, and that's my biggest win condition, because it's very possible, again, like I said earlier with this Nautilus, that our opponent blocks in a way where, unless they block with like the whole board, this thing randomly hits for so much damage when you staggering size it. So we know we don't mill a staggering size if I Iceberg right now, so I'm gonna Iceberg right now. And that's what we're digging for. Oh, we milled our other Iceberg? That's pretty sad. 6, we've got the mana to play the Raptor and flip the Iceberg, so we do that. And the Iceberg can tap down a flying blocker to get Magpies in again. We're going for it. Just trying to kill them before we mill out, mostly. I've got 3 Magpies, so with 6 cards in the deck, that mill out's pretty soon. But we're kind of all in on staggering size Hermetic Nautilus combo. We just really need them to not have instant speed removal to be able to stop that. Only exiles cards they control, right? Yes. Abuelo only exiles the stuff they control. Oh, it can flicker the stupid Reflection Net, though? I guess that gives us back the Seed Stones if they do it, though. Till it leaves the battlefield. Yeah, okay, so they could flicker the reflection net, but the net doesn't hit the board again until their end step, so that's not going to be like instant speed removal off of Abuelo. It just means they swap what's exiled. I think we draw 3 off these magpies if we can. Going for the staggering size kill, and we keep playing lands, so we can dump as much mana into Nautilus as we need when we go for that. Iceberg Titan coming in here. Probably. Iceberg Titan isn't even that great though, right? Because I guess I don't stun it, but I tap the Waylaying Pirates. So they can't block with the Pirates and flicker it. But they could like block with a pup and flicker that or something. Block with anything and flicker it really. Or just block with a 1/1 gnome. Oh. Still feels better to attack with it than to not, at least. I'll just tap Abuelo, I guess. So we can get all the magpies in to lower the life total, make the staggering size lethal more likely. But as long as our opponent has drawn instant speed removal and holds it up, I don't think they can lose this game. But I think this is our only bet, really. Staggering size, random, lethal. So that's what we're aiming for. And they're obviously aiming to mill us. Not a lot of targeted mill in the set, though, so I don't think they'll get it. So we need this card to be staggering size. We need staggering size to, like, not be the bottom card, basically. We hit a brackish blunder, which is interesting. I've had no artifacts hit the board this turn. So if I blunder now and get a map token bouncing Abuelo, I get 1. And I don't want to crack a map with a staggering size on top of my deck because I don't want them to know about it. I guess I keep the blunder and we use blunder and staggering size in conjunction to get more damage in on whatever we trample up. Feels the best. That does feel the best. Did I forget to play a land this turn? I don't think so. I think that's what this is right here, this spread off island. I've definitely skipped lands on some earlier turns, though, just to bluff stuff, and that might not end up playing the best, because I'm going to need 2 mana for staggering size, 2 mana for blunder. That's 4 mana total. Nautilus is going to be 7 toughness. So I can trigger it twice. So yeah, it's going to be like 10 power, 9 power, I guess. Shoot. Not as big or insane as I said it would be, but 9 power trampler is still pretty big out of nowhere. I'm going to start hovering some other cards because I have been hovering over my Nautilus a suspiciously large amount. I don't want them to think about the Nautilus that much and actually just stack up a million blockers on it. Okay, so now we just draw. Oh, they got a magpie this turn, though. I think because they popped back the Tinker's Tote to hand. Wait, how did this work? What did they play that played 2 artifacts? Because they spent 0 mana right now. I'm confused. I looked away for a second and I'm really confused. Because this triggers at the beginning of the end step. Oh no, it's just the Tinker's Tote. They're not getting a magpie. They missed the trigger because it came back in the end step. Okay, cool. My bad, sorry. It's literally the last card. Oh. Make it go to the wire like this, Arena. Staggering size is the bottom card. So I can't attack with any magpies to chip in for a little bit of chip damage this turn. I don't think there's any way we're getting any chip damage in if I can't attack with the magpies right now, because everything else is going to get chumped by a 1/1. So we pass and pray. We can attack with the magpies next turn when we go for the Alpha Strike, because the only way that their abilities would end up resolving is if our opponent was alive after they took combat damage. So we can use them for additional damage on our next attack. They've got 3 cards in hand. We need none of those to be instant speed removal. And we need our opponent to block pretty incorrectly when they have this much stuff on board. They could also just gain 3 from the Tinker's Tote. Well, if nothing else, you could say we did everything we could here. But here it is. The deciding point of the game. I believe the best tap is just the highest toughness creature. Oh. Here we go. I highly doubt our opponent's gonna die here. But if they have absolutely nothing in hand, then it's possible. We have to be able to deal 10 damage, though. I don't think that happens, because they can block basically every single creature we have, and we can only trample over for like 9 if we bounce whatever blocks the Nautilus and staggering size it. We're 1 damage away from the 10 that we would need. So we need something else to connect that I don't think anything else is going to connect. I guess they can only block 2 of our flyers. Abuelo blocks 1 and Anchorage blocks another, but they did not animate the Anchorage, so we're dealing 2. If they have no instants in their hand, this actually gets there if they just single block the Nautilus. Yeah, with no instants in their hand, we actually win this game the way that it looks like they're going to end up blocking. So they're at essentially 10. Such a moment of truth thing here. Please don't have any instants. Yeah. They are at essentially 10 life. They have nothing on board that's going to save them from staggering size and buff Nautilus. They're at 10 life, taking 2 right now. So they're at 8 life. We need this Nautilus to hit them for 8. I guess I could just use it on Iceberg Titan and that'd be the same. We make a 9-power Iceberg Titan. Yeah, I actually should have used it on Iceberg Titan. But if they have the instant speed interaction, it doesn't matter either way. Oh, if it's like a Cosmium Blast here, I'm going to be so disappointed, because then we would have won if we used it on Iceberg Titan. Flicker the Reflection Net, that doesn't come back to your end step, friend, so I'll use those happily, thank you. I'll take that. Oh, I should have buffed the Magpie. Oh, I'm playing so loose, but at least our opponent is too. Gain the 3. Now it looks better to have done it to Nautilus, because now Nautilus is going to be even bigger. Don't even need to blunder. 4 mana up. Now it's out of range of Cosmium Blast, even if I activate it again. Don't do it to me. I mean, while I technically should have Seed Stones the Magpie there, at this point it wouldn't matter, because we would still lose to 1 instant speed piece of interaction regardless. Right, if I'm hitting for 4 with these Magpies and then they just bounce my my 9/9 Trample Titan or my however big Trampling Nautilus, either way. I used the ability one too many times. I made myself dead to Cosmium Blast again. Oh, this is such a sloppy ending. I live in fear. My life is a crumbling ball of anxiety this game. I'm playing so loose, but our opponent is as well, with the attempted flicker on the Seed Stones. I feel like that feels like panic kind of plays. Yeah, we trample over. Even if you exile it, that's how trample works. Let's go. Oh, thank goodness. Good lord. I could have played that last turn out so much tighter. Oh. But yeah, seeing our opponent make those panic kind of plays of trying to flicker that removal spell, it's like, oh, I don't think they do that if they just have a removal spell in hand. Oh, all right. 0 cards in the deck. Getting outgrinded by Abuelo the whole time. But we find that staggering size nonsense lethal as the last card in our deck, and we are now 2-1 after like 2 hours of recording, heading into game number 4. Here we are now for game number 4. Could wait on the Herald's thing if I bounce a tapped creature, get a map token. Ooh, another blue-white deck starting with that Restless Anchorage. I'm going to try getting greedy with the Hunter's Reveille this time. And we'll see how that works out for us. I think we drop Crewmate over Brawler. Get some more action off of it. Shipwreck Sentry is not the craziest action, but it is a card of value, which is basically the only reason we're playing it in our deck. We don't have a ton of artifacts to trigger it, to actually attack with it, but just making Crewmate more likely to hit a card, and there you see why. If it wasn't in the deck, Crewmate would have done no card advantage, no value for us that turn. All right. So one thing that's pretty cute that we can do here, I am playing mana efficient rather than going for the Reveille, but one thing that's cute that we can do is we can bounce our own Crewmate when it's tapped to get the map token to explore for the Reveille later. I think I just unlucky drop this Sunborn instantly. We just don't want to deal with that thing ever triggering off of an attack. I guess I don't need to bounce it unless they're going to have 2 other permanents to discover with it. So I could just jam in for 4 and then just hold up the unlucky drop for if they play something else, but then I'm always just going to cast unlucky drop if I'm holding up 4 mana. I guess we could like drop a Brawler or a Sentry then and hold up Blunder as a backup. I think that seems fine. Unlucky dropping immediately would also be okay. But okay. I mean, a trade's a trade. I get to just jam out 4 mana value worth of creatures this turn then. Yeah, maybe should have gone a little more greedy with the River Herald guide for the Reveille. Just thinking back on things, it is looking pretty awkward now. Glorifier of Suffering, 3 mana, 3/2. Not a great stat line when you can't sacrifice something for the counters, so we're happy to see that without any support right now. Poor little vampire all by himself. Traded 2-drop into a 3-drop. They don't want to do that. Let's explore. Now I can guarantee a Merfolk, but I don't replay the Crewmate. Oh, I shouldn't have played my land for turn. I don't think I have enough artifacts in here to care that much about this Shipwreck Sentry. Like, I might hit one off the crewmate, but I also might just hit another pirate. Man, we got the saddest merfolk. We got the 1-drop. Could have gotten the 2/2 flyer, the 3/4 vigilance. Our opponent still has a ton of cards here. They have a ton of action, right? 5 more cards in hand plus 2 hidden courtyards if they flood out to discover. I don't like how the long game's looking for us, but we'll have plenty of power on the board with an unlucky drop to get some stuff out of the way, and they're down to 12, so honestly, who knows? We might just jam a bunch of damage in next turn. Well, we hit 2 artifacts for the artifact thing. Take the iceberg, I think. Although, it's a little hard to flip. I have to flip a Nautilus at this point. Still feels better than the puzzle door. Well, there's a seed stones I can flip for it, but I also just like those +1/+1 counters at this point. Those counters are kind of nuts on a Nautilus, so now we're just playing Nautilus here. Give this the extra toughness it needs to use the ability twice. Needs to have 7 toughness total, so I guess I'd have to put all the counters onto it, but that would make it a massive attacker. Speaking of massive things, Dire Flail is terrifying. Once they flip it into the blunderbuss, it's a bunch of removal spells on a stick. They just have to keep cracking artifacts to do it. Our opponent's at 12, and they're about to take some damage here. Aww. They see the Seed Stones Nautilus combo, and they are not cool with it. So, 6 damage on board. If I Jade Seed Stones it up, they're taking a lot of damage here. I don't get to unlucky drop in the same turn, so I guess we offer the crewmate for scout trade. Do something like this. Spread the threats out. We hit them for 7, trade the crewmate off into the scout. Drop an iceberg. I could have put 2 counters onto the crewmate so it's big enough to attack into the scout without dying, but then I only have 1 counter left over to put on 2 other 2/2s. So no matter how I divided my counters there, one of my creatures was going to be small enough to trade into the scout on attacks. So I just made it so the weakest creature trades into the scout, and everything else jams in for damage. Well, I guess since they petrified the Nautilus, at least we've got a great artifact to flip our iceberg, or a creature to flip our seed stones, but flipping seed stones is already easy. There's plenty of creatures in grave. I can play a Larcenist and an unlucky drop here. Feels like by far the most likely way to find lethal, so let's go for it. This is enchant artifact or creature, so even if I make the Nautilus a treasure, the Petrify will not fall off. So I don't think there's any reason to do one of our permanents. Let's see what they got for 3 mana. Feels really likely to be lethal. But I guess they can cause me and blast the scout and go to 2. Reflection Net works too. Not going to unlucky drop in response to that. We're going to keep this to clear out a blocker. At instant speed. They're at 2 life against 2 lethal threats, and we have a removal spell in hand to get rid of a blocker. Council of Echoes with 4 permanents in grave, thanks to their Glorifier getting sacked as a treasure. But they only bounce 1 of our cards, and even bouncing the Larcenist doesn't give them their creature back since they sacked the creature to do this. So, yep, I was going to say, looks like we can just unlucky drop the Council and attack for lethal, and that is going to be the case. We are now 3-1, a very positive record here, heading into what may be like a 3-hour-long draft. We'll see. Here we are for Game 5. Our opponent's on the play. So we get another draw step to hit some lands here, and any land gives us double River Herald Guide into a Hulking Raptor. Obviously, we would really love an island here, but imagining this as a multi-5 keeping these 5, I would absolutely keep those off a multi-5, so we keep the hand here. It is possible a 6-card hand is better than this, but not tremendously likely, so... Here's a Deep Cavern Bat, which is probably ripping our Hulking Raptor out of our hand, and we get to be very sad. Deep Cavern Bat. Pretty disappointing card to see here. Island is a very nice card to see, though, because now we get to roll out with the crewmate here and pick up an Iceberg. So now turn 3 River Herald Guide, turn 4 play a Guide and a Reveille. Ruin Lurker Bat. Oh my god, we're gonna have to outrace 2 flying lifelinkers? This is real sketchy. Especially if they play that vampire that lets them sack this thing to put a counter on 2 cards and they get a counter on both of those. That would be really gross. Super happy to draw another rare here. That's gonna help race pretty well. The Sentinel of the Nameless City spitting out a ton of map tokens, being a super juicy threat. But there's the Petrify for that. Still gave us a map token when it hit the board, so it still gave us solid value. Now we can spend the turn on a River Herald Guide plus a Reveille. But we just can't outrace all this stupid lifelink right now. Find a Waterwind Scout off of the Seek for Merfolk. Down to 15, they are sticking at 20 here, and now there's a big, annoying 2/4 blocker. So we need to get a counter on this River Herald Guide for it to beat in. I think I go for it here. We can do this map, and then also another from Waterwind Scout if we need it. Don't need it. Really happy to hit a staggering size. I feel like they're probably going to removal spell Waterwind Scout either way, so let's juice up the River Herald Guide anyway. Make it 5 power, and then all they can do is chump or take 5. I feel like Waterwind Scout as a 2/2 or a 3/3 is going to draw removal so they can get their flying lifelinkers in, so I don't really want to stack up more counters on the Scout. It's already good enough at 2/2 stats. The one issue with that would be if they get their own +1/+1 equipment or +1/+1 counters, then we kind of would rather have a counter on the Waterwind Scout, but I feel like removal's probably a little more likely. From a black-white deck, they should have plenty of removal available to them. Kind of the 2 opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of the amount of removal available here with our color pairs. They are just the all 1/1 flyers all day deck, which is a very popular, very powerful archetype in the set. There's tons of great cheap flyers, and they're going to bitter triumph the 5/3 on the ground, let us keep the Waterwind Scouts, and keep their little flying lifelinkers off of us, which is nice. So this turn we just play a River Herald Guide and an Iceberg then. I don't really need to staggering size in a crewmate. It's not going to be the greatest use of that card. Yep, let's just take a turn to set things up. Sitting pretty behind our Waterwind Scout. Finding an Eaten by Piranhas. Very nice instant speed interaction. Okay. So, just hoping they can't clear out a 6/6 and then get some massive attacks with that. They've got no good blocks against a 6/6 coming up. So, oh shoot, I can't. I don't have an artifact on board or engrave. Oh dear. That's an issue. I guess we dig at random here. There you go. Another Iceberg will let us flip our thing. Perfect. And we milled an artifact. And we drew a Jade Seed Stones? Well, this is wild. Feels like a board state where I want to spread the love a little bit. I still feel like with 3 really valuable 1/1 flyers on their board, I juice up the ground troops. So they're both big enough to attack into the Thousand Moons infantry. I mean, they could double block with 2 of the flyers if they want. Alright, cool. We're clearing out that infantry. They might get a +1/+1 counter onto one of the flyers here. Makes it big enough to attack the scout. They did. Ooh, and they drew a 4/4 flyer. They need another white source, so they might mill that. I think they kept it, though. I think they already did at this point. Oh, well, never mind. They swamp cycle, then it's shuffled away anyway, which is probably why they kept it. They were like, well, I'd like to redraw it at a later point. I can just shuffle my deck anyway, so let's do that. Okay, so now one of these lifelinkers can start attacking in again, but we're cracking back for 6 a turn, maybe? Ooh, they've got the Petrify anyway. Okay, so they both attack in. They're back to 15. Yes! Oh my god, this is so broken. I'm just going to say that every time I draw this card, because the card is just broken. Actually, we only get 1 artifact on the board this turn. Forgot, this doesn't give us the map unless it's currently attacking. So I probably shouldn't have played it this turn. Should have just held up the mana for Staggering Size or Eaten by Piranhas, but that's my bad. 1 artifact is not 2. No Thieving Magpie for me. But we still have a substantially better board state than our opponent now, so I think we'll be fine. Iron Paw Aspirant definitely helps them a lot. They hit us for 4 and gain 4 every turn now. We're down to 8. There's a Shipwreck Sentry. They're at 15, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, they're just dead to what we have currently in hand. They have 1 spell in their hand? I mean, you just straight up go for that then. If they have 1 spell in their hand, you just do the lethal. Instant speed, black removal. They have 3 permanents engraved, so we use it on Iceberg Titan, because then if it's the -5/-5, it doesn't kill the Iceberg Titan. And yeah, they don't have the removal spell in hand. So Join the Dead is the card we were playing around there. That's 3 mana instant, gives -5/-5, but if you have 4 or more permanents engraved, it gives -10/-10 instead. So that's why I checked. They only had 3 permanents, which means they could have the -5/-5 removal, where if I Staggering Size the crewmate, they stop much more damage than if I Staggering Size the Titan. So we still wouldn't have had lethal either way, but that way we actually get more damage in against that spell and keep the Titan. I think we still just win if they have that. Obviously not that turn, but then we can just like play a Shipwreck Sentry and shut off the Ruin Lurker Bat from gaining them any life on the next attack, then swing in with everybody the next turn. Or if I really want to get a Thieving Magpie, I can just flip this Iceberg post-combat. Really lots of incredible options, just really, really solid draws there. A lot of fantastic spells coming in hot, and we are now 4-1 heading into round number 6. Here we are now for round number 6 with a sweet hand. Got a Puzzle Door and an Iceberg to draw some cards, try to get into the mana for the Hulking Raptor, but get a Malamet Brawler into a Raptor, and we've got a pretty spicy start to the game. Even got some interaction with that Eaten by Piranhas. Shut some stuff off. There's a Sunshot Militia from our opponent, turn 2 from their blue-red deck. Start things off with our Brawler. Play the Scout and the Iceberg next turn. Alright, there's a Careening Minecart. We are really looking for a land here, so I think we're going to Scout and mill it if it's a non-land. But then I'll just Iceberg after the Scout anyway. I guess I could hold up Eaten by Piranhas instead. It's an option. Beautiful, it is the land that we need. So now we can Iceberg freely, or we can Eaten by Piranhas. The Minecart if they like crew and attack here. don't think I'll do that. Let's just Iceberg. Get that out of the way. Next turn, probably the Hulking Raptor first, because if it's not dealt with, and it's hard to deal with its Ward 2, then it's going to let us really dump our hand the next turn, giving us 2 additional mana. We'll have 7 mana up on turn 5, which could be phenomenal. Alright, Mind Card is getting in there, giving them some extra permanence for the Militia or some extra mana for other stuff. Just drop a Shipwreck Sentry, though. Now I'm a little tempted to play Seed Stones instead of Raptor, because then we get attacks in this turn. Whereas I don't otherwise. I'm still just going to jam out the Raptor, though. Let's get that mana efficiency going. Have tons of mana to play around with next turn. Unless they have like a 1 mana removal spell for this thing. I guess it could be a 2 mana removal spell. They've got 4 mana, so they could abrade it, sacking the treasure. That's annoying, but that takes their whole turn. Takes all their mana. That is rough, though. I think that was the only removal that would have worked. Definitely a common. So it was a really nice card to have. Okay. Seed Stones crack a puzzle door, but I guess I crack the puzzle door first to see if that changes what I want to do. I don't think that actually changes my line, but I'm very happy to have a Larcenist coming up. Couple 3/3s with an Eaten by Piranhas in hand, or do we just juice up a 5/5 Trampler? I don't think we juice it up. It's going to play really badly against like bounce spells if we lock it all in on one card. So let's spread the love again, like usual. I think with Larcenist and Eaten by Piranhas and the Seed Stones flipping for life gain later, we're still jamming in. Ooh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. I can say there's not a lot that can put me like dangerously close to dead. The stupid little 3 mana 3/1 haste that I don't think is a very good card does do that. Just the 1 toughness on the 3 mana is what makes it pretty weak, but in a position like this, good lord, am I now just gonna die? Well, they have 2 mana interaction. Otherwise, they absolutely would have used Sunshot Militia there. So at this point, what on earth do I do? We're definitely not able to attack in right now. Which is sad, because I would love to. We've got the Artifact Engrave if we want to just flip a 6/6, but that's really dangerous. I think we have to play Interaction this turn. So I'd probably dump both these out this turn, and next turn drop the 7/7 that gains us life. So I kind of want to Eaten by Piranhas the Sunshot Militia, because then even if they have removal for a Larcenist, they don't randomly get Militia to kill us. If I play the Larcenist and try to turn the Militia into treasure, and then they kill the Larcenist next turn, then they just tap their whole board and we're dead in response, right? Because I can try to Eaten by Piranhas. I guess this is instant speed and this is sorcery speed. So if they use removal on Larcenist to save Militia, they can use it 1 time, but then I can respond by Eaten by Piranhas. Or with Eaten by Piranhas. So maybe that's actually fine. Yeah. They can put 1 trigger on the stack, because they'll have priority after they kill Larcenist. But then, after that 1 trigger, I can respond with Eaten by Piranhas, and they can't respond with another trigger after that. So I think this is fine. But we can't really attack at all right now. Not till we flip our Seed Stones. Shoot me to 1. Oh, please don't just have 4 damage of burn in hand 2. Well, I guess now if they kill... Shoot, now if they kill Larcenist, Militia immediately kills me. God dang it. Because I can't Eaten by Piranhas the Militia until they've already dealt one to me. I'm gonna give one of these +2/+2 trample. Eaten by Piranha saves us from that combat trick, unless they have multiple. I think I'm gonna have to cash in the Eaten by Piranhas this turn. Which is fine, because we'll be tapped out from using it next turn anyway. Cogwork Wrestler, okay. Use anything else? They don't use anything else, so I'm gonna cash this in because we're not gonna have it up next turn anyway. What? Okay, opponent. I mean, they're playing around a counterspell, that's fair enough. But that entire turn didn't matter at all. We don't have counterspells in our deck. That's so disappointing. They just had double idle on top when we were at 3. That will do it. 4-2 heading into round 7. This is a pretty beautiful hand. Go for the Greed Master play of the Reveille turn 2. I'm going to do it. I've done the other thing last time, but this time I'm going to go full Greed. Aw, it didn't pan out because we were just going to just explore turn 3/4 anyway. I mean, I guess if we don't find a better turn 3 play, then we actually want to play this turn 3 instead of 4, so that's still fine. We found a better turn 3 play, but it was because we seek the merfolk, so I don't know. Deep Cavern Bat, I am so tired of you. Discard spells in general are just definitely a little annoying. I don't know what it is, there's just something so instinctually frustrating when your opponent just rips whatever they want out of your hand. Cards that make you discard like a card of your choice are like a little annoying, but when they get to like pick and choose, that's where things do get real rude. I kind of want to go hard with this Landlore Navigator. I need to draw another blue source to really do that, because I need to be able to play Nautilus and Blunder next turn, so I can blunder whatever they have to block the Navigator, attack, get a map, and play a Nautilus for the second artifact. Well, I guess it's possible they don't play something that's good at blocking Navigator, and then I don't need double blue. That would be awesome. They're also black-red, so I guess it's also pretty likely they can just kill it with a Deadweight or a Braid or anything like that, any cheap removal. But they're probably not blowing removal on a River Herald Guide anyway. Okay. Blue source will do it. That ain't a blue source. So no Navigator yet. Just drop the River Herald Guide looking for that island. I can still blunder the Soul Coil Viper and attack and get a map, but that is 1 artifact and not 2. Don't think that's tremendously worth it here. Alright. Well, we're never going to get an attack trigger off of this Navigator at this point in the game, but having it sitting around in case we have a double artifact play in the future can be pretty awesome. So, like, at worst, it probably draws removal. No, they'd rather kill the 4/2, fair enough. I mean, until you've, like, been destroyed by Landlore Navigator, it doesn't look as threatening as it is. But it is monumentally threatening. Oh, you know what's kind of cool? think we can actually pop off here. Yeah, we can actually do it. So I can make this a treasure and this a treasure. Then I jam in with Navigator. They're not going to trade because they don't want us to get our scout back in our hand. And then we could just play the Nautilus, and then we just win. We have won the game. We are victorious. Not true. They could have like board wipes and stuff, but they don't have like that. Like just one Magpie out off the Navigator is such a like huge swing in your favor. All right, there's the Rock Slide for the Larcenist. They get the Viper back, but our board is looking really awesome now. Magpie attacks in super well against the 1/1 flyer. It's going to draw so many cards. We've even got the Blunder for the Viper if we want to keep attacking with Navigator here. I am 1 mana away from doing Blunder and Sentinel, which would be sweet. So if I top deck a top deck a land off the Magpie, then things are going to get nuts. I'm going to take that gamble. I'm going to see if I can top deck a land off Magpie. Or maybe they just trade Navigator into bat now, which is also fine. We get our card back. Yeah, this is cool. Unless I hit the land, that'll be slightly sad, but now if I don't hit the land, I'm super happy. Okay. They're over it. They're done. They're like, this is just stupid. This is stupid Magic. Alchemy sucks. And they have left the game. We are now 5-2 in the money out of this draft no matter what, which is super sweet. Very, very happy with how this draft has gone. And pretty funny that our first Alchemy draft, we got to use the Vampire Seek card, and now we're using the Merfolk Seek card. Very flavorful to go in these two different directions here for the first couple Alchemy drafts, but see if we can't get a couple more wins, get a little more value out of the draft. I'll be trying my best, fingers crossed, as we head into round number 8. This is probably way too many lands to keep, but theoretically I get to Seek a Merfolk on turn 4. We crack one map and Seek a Merfolk. I don't think that's worth a keep. Let's go for the mole here. This is better. Do I just ditch the Larcenist? I don't think so. 3 different 3-mana green creatures here. We just ditch one of these and hope to find an island at some point. Larcenist is still an excellent play on like turn 20, so we don't mind not having the mana for Larcenist immediately. Just playing a Scout into a Guide into a Sentinel should be pretty awesome. I think I have to mill that since I don't have the blue source yet. Even though I have so many ways to explore to trigger the Seek ability. Yep, this would have been a horrific draw if I also had the Reveille in hand. I probably have to just try to trade into this Yearling, but it's going to play really bad against combat tricks. So I'm still tempted to just send in anyway. Oh no. I've seen this card once before because my opponent milled it, but it is nuts. It's a 4/4 for 3 mana, and whenever it's dealt damage, every single dinosaur on their board, in their hand, and in their library gets bigger. And they can spend 3 mana every time it attacks to deal 1 to any target. 1 to each target. Oh shoot, each creature in Planeswalker. So it shoots itself to buff every single oh my god. That is horrific. So we need them to not be able to kill Larcenist, basically. That's our only shot here. Otherwise, they could even just attack in and spend the 3, and that's already an excellent play, giving every creature in their deck +1/+1. Alright. Please never be able to kill my Larcenist. Just never kill it. I am begging. Okay, Hulking Raptor doesn't kill it, but it gives them the mana to do so. A little unfortunate our opponent goes fantastic uncommon dino into bomb rare dino, turn 3, turn 4. But we'll deal, we'll deal. Do I want to Seek a Merfolk or try to get a +1/+1 counter on Larcenist? probably get the counter on the Larcenist to make it slightly harder to kill, maybe. Although this is a much better blocker for the Raptor if they're going to go for an attack. I would much rather trade with River Herald Guide than Sentinel. Yeah, green-red dinos, it's going to be a lot of fight spells. They're going to kill this thing even if it has 4 toughness. There's a couple spells like a Braid that wouldn't be able to kill it if I managed to get a map token +1/+1 counter on it, but I think there's enough that are going to kill it even if it's bigger that I'll go for the better blocker for Hulking Raptor instead. And then we seek a Merfolk, get the Waterwind Scout. I'm going to have to start paying attention to how many Merfolk I have left in my deck. I've never paid attention till now, but every time I've managed to still have Merfolk, which is good. Oh my god, this is just all rares all day. The Propagator Primordium is the first alchemy rare that I played against, and it destroyed me. It's a 2-mana 3/3, so it's already well worth the mana cost, but it also puts 2 copies of itself in your grave and then reanimates them 3 turns from now. So if it sticks around for 3 turns, they get another 3/3 on their board, and if that one sticks around for 3 turns, that one also pulls another 3/3 onto the board. Card is insane. Our opponent has some card quality out. Our deck's got a lot of card quality too, and we've got the Larcenist and the Sentinel here, so we're doing our best. Our deck is doing as good as it can here, I think. Some of our best draws, but this has got to be some of our opponent's best draws too. This stuff is wild. So Sentinel, so we can actually block this Primordium, take no damage on the ground here, and then we can start using map tokens to try to make Larcenist big enough to attack into the spider. Feels reasonable to me. Because currently we've just completely stopped doing damage. Yeah, let's start getting some map tokens. And trying to juice up the board state. I mean, I suppose just juicing up the Sentinel on the ground is also pretty reasonable. Either way is not bad. Maybe it would have been better to play Sentinel and Crewmate and just save the maps for now. I don't know. Alright. Got a counter on the Larcenist. So it's 1/1/1 counter away from getting in for 4 a turn. There's a scout for our opponent. Explores into a forest. Alright, cool. We hit that inverted iceberg. I can only cast 1 blue spell. Kinda want to get the map token. Juice up to that next power, hopefully. Come on. Come on. Thank you, RNGesus, and Hulking Raptor is not a bad draw either. Start hitting for 4 a turn, that's a clock. Guess this does let Larcenist die to a combat trick now, so there's that risk. In sending the Larcenist in. But they didn't have one then, so unless they just top decked it, we keep sending it. Now we're going to cast a Hulking Raptor and probably a Crewmate alongside it. Because I don't have double blue to flip the iceberg yet anyway. Maybe it is still better to play the iceberg and just really hope for that next blue source, because a 6/6 that can tap things down is very big on this board. They really top deck the combat trick. Awesome. We know for a fact they didn't have that last turn because they had the mana up. Can't really play around a top deck. RIP. I'm gonna go for the iceberg here. Ooh, Seed Stones is a fantastic draw. Primordium pops off now. Is it instant speed? Wow, it is. Instant speed, they get to reanimate one of the other 3/3s. And they hit a Geological Appraiser. Spits out a Hotfoot Gnome, so they've got a super wide board here. They can't really use Speartail's ability ever. Because if they deal a damage to the whole board, they're killing 2 of their own creatures now that they hit a 3/1. So that is nice. I kind of feel like I have to just throw all the counters on the Waterwind Scout and hope for the best. I think our blocks on the ground are already going to be fine. They don't get much better. So try to just go for a 3-turn kill in the sky if we're lucky. Yep. That board state is getting wide over there. I think I need another blocker immediately. I kind of have to play crewmate instead of the iceberg. Desperate for that second island. Oh no. We've dumped 2 islands to the bottom, and we missed. Alright. Alright. They're still dead to 2 Waterwind Scout hits. I can still flip a Seed Stones next turn and gain 3 life. And have a 7/7 blocker. Big deal. They have no dinosaurs on board. Well, they're gonna do that? Okay. Sure, no blocks. I don't love these trades, and if I trade, I buff their dinosaurs again. Staggering Size is a really legit draw. I don't think I'm casting it this turn, though. It's possible I stumble my way into lethal with an all attack, but it's not particularly likely. If I instead flip the Seed Stones and go for the Staggering Size next turn, it's much more likely to randomly lethal them, because we have a potential 10-10 Trampler on the attack. And I think I have the life total after gaining 3 off of this to have surviving blocks here at 17. Yeah, I'm gonna flip the Seed Stones. And I have to do it main phase 1, because that mana is gonna go away if I go to main phase 2 before I flip the Attendant. Alright, there's the chump block. Our opponent can start casting dinos from grave. Does this buff the dinos in grave? No, interesting. Speartail buffs all the dinos except the ones in the graveyard, so these ones aren't getting buffed. Alright, it's coming in hot again. It's buffing everybody. No blocks, and then we just plunge, attack with everyone, and hope to find lethal. Ooh, 5/5 that gains 3 when it hits the board is going to make it significantly more difficult to find lethal. Now let's make some use out of this mana. Use that floating green on the puzzle door and see if that'll change anything. It would if I had double blue. But I don't. $13 life. Almost all of their blocks, we're going to be killing a creature. So we're going to kill at least 2 creatures if we're not killing them. Kill 2 of these. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it's possible for them to block in a way that kills us on the crackback, but it's highly unlikely. Seeing as we get to hold our Sentinel up, and we might just kill them here as well. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I mean, they're super dead. They're super mega dead. We're good. Alright. Scary stuff. The Primordiums were starting to pop off. The board was getting big with the Speartail, but that Staggering Size, just a constant MVP every time I run that card. Just that one copy coming in hot, and we're now 6-2, where we're very in the money, and we're heading into the final battle. Win or lose, everything on the line here with the final boss of this Ixalan Alchemy Premier Draft. Here we are now on the play for the final game. Puzzle door into Brawler into River Herald Guide. Perfectly reasonable way to start off the game. Nothing insane yet, but some solid stuff on curve throughout the first several turns. Playing against a red deck, they start with a Hidden Volcano. Draw 1 drop turn 2, Sadness, on the stack. I would rather have played Scout into Brawler into Guide, but this is the world we live in. We've still got mana-efficient plays on turn 4. We can play the Scout and the Blunder and crack the Puzzle Door. Or I can just play a Seed Stones, which is also a pretty good turn 4 play. Attack into this Tomb Raider, get our 2 damage in, and drop the River Herald Guide, seeing what we explore into. Preferably a non-land, and then I'll mill it. Beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted to do. This exact non-land is tempting to draw, because most of my merfolk, in fact, basically all of them, because I have the Scout in my hand, are just really good 3-mana plays. So this lets me play the Scout and pick up a good 3-drop for a future turn and crack the Puzzle Door. That's a really good turn next turn. Scout, draw a card, and get a guaranteed merfolk. It's going to be like a River Herald Guide or, heaven forbid, our Flyer or our Bomb. I think I actually keep this, even though I do have the good 4-drop. And then we just use the Scout to find the 4th land. We're just not going to Seed Stones next turn. We'll do it after that. Or we could Puzzle Door into the 4th land, potentially. Yeah, 3 1-mana plays for turn 4. I do not hate that at all. Our opponent is probably on the Caves deck here, with Hidden Volcano, Hidden Acropolis, and Hidden Nursery. So they could have that that Calamitous Cave-In to deal damage to each creature equal to the number of caves they control, to try to be a big board wipe. They're going to just Abrade, just use 1-for-1 removal on our 4-2 though, so that makes that look a little less likely. But I expect some really good like cave value plays late game. Let's Puzzle Door first, I guess. I don't think it really matters the order, but let's Puzzle Door first. Maybe I hit a really good 2-drop. That is a really good 2-drop. I think I'd still rather play Scout and Reveille, but I'll put that in my hand. Still. That I will mill. And then I believe the way that Seek works, we don't have to shuffle, because we didn't see the order of our library, so it actually does matter that I milled the top non-land. I think. It hides the card, because you could have Seeked the card, you never know. But I don't think it shuffles. That's what I heard in the comment section on a previous Alchemy video. So many Propagator Primordiums. I want to play that card one time. That thing's nuts. Thing's great. Just solidly beefy creature for its mana cost. With the Seed Stones coming up, I think I keep this Scout. I think we're going to be in the more aggressive position generally. We can take this damage. Boom, there it is. Let's seed some stones. Trades are fine, right? I think so. But we'll make it so only the creature with no abilities could potentially trade in here, if they want to do that. Trample on the Brawler, because Trample on the Scout doesn't matter. If they block, they're taking 0 either way. They are down to 9. We're getting there. We've got a Blunder as well to bounce a big blocker if they're trying to set one up. We can play a creature the same turn that we do that. We can go Crewmate plus Blunder. None of our big spooky bomb rares this game, but still really solid value from just our commons and uncommons coming together. There's a Spike Tail to bounce, which we'll definitely do. It means they're going to redo its Enter the Battlefield effect and get some extra damage off of it again, but it means no blocks this turn, which means we put them to 2, and they have to tap out to recast that. That definitely feels like the play. I mean, Guide plus Reveille is also tempting, but definitely worse, I think, than just blundering the blocker and putting them to 2 life against 3 creatures that are all lethal. So Crewmate, what do you find? Navigator. I think that's like the best artifact or pirate in our deck. I thought the card was nuts when we drafted it, and now that I know it doesn't even have to attack to make Thieving Magpies, I think it's completely insane. So, but it's not super ridiculous on this board state, but it's still a solid hit from that crewmate. Sunbird Standard, they do not have the 6th land to just play the 6-drop. Oh, they do, but it's the tap land. So that's really good for us. That means they don't get to drop the 6-drop, and if they don't have instant speed removal as the last card in their hand, they are already just dead on board, so let's send in and see what it is. Without instant speed removal, this is death for our opponent. Basically 3 damage here, they go to -1. Because they have to block the Scout and the Brawler, get trampled over. Uh-oh! Looks like instant speed removal. Maybe I should have put Trample on the Scout. No, it's not instant speed removal. They just wanted to threaten it there. Get the last laugh there a little bit. But, yeah, that's another victory for us. That is the final victory. That is 7-2. This has been a 3-hour-long recording session. Hopefully I can edit down a lot of dead air and me with my slow brain thinking through some things and some opponents thinking through things. Hopefully I can edit it down from that 3 hours. But this has been a massively big draft today, and luckily some massively big prizes to top it off. A 7-win run. We played as many games of Magic as possible in one of these events, playing 9 games total. Maximum games you can play at 7-2 here. 2,200 gems and 6 packs for the prizes. Super nice stuff from this deck. I think the deck has some issues for sure, but they are the inherent issues of the color pair, where none of our removal spells are the greatest. Just having Eaten by Piranhas an unlucky drop. Obviously, we had other options for removal during the draft, but those are spells that also have some flaws to them that I don't like to take massively highly anyway, mainly the Watley's Final Strikes. The big flaw with Watley's Final Strike is that if you try to cast that and your opponent has instant speed removal, then you get really far behind in card advantage, because you're going to target one of your creatures and say this target creature deals damage equal to its power to your target creature. So if your opponent has instant speed removal to destroy your creature that you're using to shoot theirs, they're killing your creature and countering your removal spell at the same time. So that's a pretty big issue to have on your removal spells, so I don't tend to take that pretty highly. Just around the same time, I take like Unlucky Drop, Eaten by Piranhas, blue style removal spells that have the issues of like not fully killing the card. Of course, Unlucky Drop and Blunder, letting them recast the card later, and Eaten by Piranhas, leaving them with at least a 1/1 body they can still use, and maybe if they have enchantment-based removal, they can save their card. So those were the biggest flaws in the deck, but outside of that, it played really well. I'm very happy that we played around with the Herald's Reveils. They were very, very fun, and they worked real well in this deck, actually. We seeked a lot of Merfolk, and it was always valuable just hitting one of these random 3-drop Explore cards, even if we didn't hit the Sentinel itself. Still played quite well, so happy with that. The Shipwreck Sentry was probably the most filler card in the deck, but it still did its job. You know, we had that one game where the only thing we could grab off crewmate was the Sentry, and that was still astronomically better than hitting nothing with the crewmate, so there was that. Brawler was super filler, but it hit for some damage. It was a 2/2 on curve like we wanted it to be, and we had solid top end with our craft cards, flipped a lot of Iceberg Titans, and a couple Jade Heart Attendants to close things out in the end. So pretty happy with the deck overall, relatively happy with how we drafted and played it out, and obviously the end result is impossible to be unhappy with. It is the maximum prizes in the event. 2,200 gems and 6 packs of Alchemy Ixalan, or Ixalan Alchemy, or whatever this is technically called. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in seeing more like it, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.